Hey, all. We're here with Hiran and Brian from fucking Battlecross. Guys, thanks for hanging out. Tony was supposed to be here, but he, I think he got whatever. He's on
He got
vacation.
Florida. Yeah, he
So
got
Yes,
vacation.
he's like, fuck that.
I
he's
would
on the
say there's
beach.
like there's a chance we're gonna get like a real late in the game, like, oh my God, and then he'll wind up on here for like 10 minutes.
Right.
Um, but thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah, man.
awesome.
for sure. It's been a minute since I've seen you guys. I miss you guys.
Yeah, I miss you
No,
too.
I know. I miss you guys. I haven't seen Brian. I haven't seen you or Brian probably since the last time I saw
You or
Brian and you.
Brian.
Yeah, I feel like it was Memorial Day.
It was the show. It was the show, right?
It,
Uh,
yeah,
which one? In December?
yeah, it was
Like the
it.
last one?
But then we had the trip, right? The trip
Yeah,
was
so the
after
last
that.
time I saw Tom was at the show, and actually the background on all of my work stuff is the picture of all of us on stage from the last show. And Tom, you're there because you were like doing all the videotaping and
Yes.
stuff. So that's always a nice conversation starter when I'm talking to someone about financial aid, and they're like, I don't know if this guy's reliable. Like, he looks pretty heavy, like um but yeah, no, and then I saw her on last Memorial Day, which is also why Tony's mad at me because I didn't call him about that.
He's
Oops.
dropping the ball, Brian.
Oh shit, Brian.
I know. I got to keep the time, not juggle the balls. What?
Brian's juggling
Ah,
the balls. That
juggling the balls.
that that last Battlecross show was off the fucking chain, dude. That was so much fun. Um, I I'm gonna say I really hope that it's not the last Battlecross show.
I'm gonna say I also hope that is not the last Battlecross show.
Dude,
Um,
yeah.
I think, I mean, speaking from me as far as the show is concerned, I thought and Tom, we were just talking about it before we started recording, but it's, that was not maybe a World Series show, but that was deep playoff run for us. And I felt like we all knew the gravity of what it meant. So I think we all tried our hardest to have like the best show possible. And I thought it really fell into place, for me. Obviously everyone else, I thought played great. The crowd response was awesome. So that was definitely a special one in my book. As far as show, right, like you do this so much that like sometimes you remember good things, sometimes you remember when you totally screw up shackles and you get off by 30 bars and can't get back on, but that's, not that nice. So but no, it was a big one for me. And as far as this, I mean, I think we never fully closed the door on anything. I think it was, we all needed space to do our things and, get it together as people. Uh, and I think we're doing that, as far as I am concerned. Everyone's grown so much in, the time that we, since the show and all that. So, but I will let Haran share his thoughts on that.
No, I mean, first of all, yeah, that show was amazing. To just go out and just do that, I just felt like we needed it, and like I needed that bit of, I guess, somewhat closure to it, of just saying that it's not happening. But again, never say never. Um, do, do I do I hope that another album happens? Absolutely, 100%. I want it to happen, but I also can't. We can't force it, right? We
Sure.
can't just. And that's the thing. It's like I felt like for the longest time there was just this unspoken like, yeah, yeah, it's gonna happen, and people kept asking, and I just never. It got to a point where like I didn't really know what to say other than, yeah, we're trying to work on it. And I started to just feel like, how how many times can I keep saying that? And is it really even true? Because it like we did get to that point where we were starting to write shit, right? Like Brian came in, we had a jam session, then fucking COVID happened,
Yeah.
and that obviously fucked up a lot of shit. But you know, um, it just kind of there was nothing like, there was no personal issues. It was really just space and distance and just other stuff going on in our lives that just made it really hard to like focus on this thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because when we were doing Battlecross, I mean, there was such a different fire and passion that was within all of us, you know? Even when Brian came on board, there was just, we had like this fire about us that was just like, you know, all in, right? And fast forward to like where things were slowing down, it just, that fire just kind of wasn't the same anymore. You know, that same fuel and passion wasn't there. So I think that makes it, you know, difficult to also kind of try and find like sort of reignite that.
Mhm.
You know, like you got to reignite something else because it's taken a different turn, right? We're not trying to accomplish the same things that we were before, you know, then. So anyway, you know, I think all those things compounded, you know, essentially like we're done is just, that's how I was feeling at that time. And I can say that I do feel differently now compared to then, but I still can't give you an answer. I still
Sure.
can't tell you, hey, now I anticipate an album by, you know,
Yeah.
2 years, you know,
Right.
or in 6 months or 5 years. You know, I can't tell you that. But I can tell
Well,
you that my sentiment and feelings about where I was have changed.
so I'll say I'm glad to hear that, right? Because honestly, you know, I mean, you guys know, right? I try to see you every chance I could, right? Obviously, we keep in touch outside of the band, you know, just as friends because we I think we've all become that, you know.
Yeah.
That there's a really kick-ass group of people, you know, that I met because of the band, and we're all super fucking close. You know, they're some of my best friends today. Like, fuck, I'm going on the Headbangers boat with Dion. Like,
Oh yeah.
fuck yeah.
That's
You
awesome.
guys are gonna rage. That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, hopefully no one jumps off the boat because
They
that happened on a cruise
Oh
that
my
I was
God.
on. It we'll go back to that. I won't get too
Yeah, let's
into it 'cause I don't want to.
revisit
yeah.
But
the, yeah.
we'll put
So,
a pin in it.
you know, but to hear that you feel differently now than you did, whether you're writing music now or not, I don't give a shit. I saw you, you know, post some clips of you playing guitar, and I like to see that. I was just like, oh fuck yeah, dude! Like just playing those songs, just seeing your fingers on that fretboard, I was like,
So
good.
sexual.
Oh yeah.
I share the sentiment as well. I have to say it was nice because I knew when it was all kind of coming down, everyone was sort of in their own headspace about it and had their reasoning for, you know, everything. You know, and I know that, you know, from where I was sitting, it was like Hiran had sort of done the last show and kind of just I think needed space from music capital M for a little while. You know, it's and kind of building off what he was saying, I feel like it's very hard to have genuine creativity and artistic value when you have to kind of manufacture it synthetically. You know, it's always easier when it's coming from a genuine place, right? And to his point about, you know, maybe it's the fire didn't necessarily go out, but it's burning with different stuff now, or the goals we're trying to accomplish are different, you know. And I think that's just maturing as people, maturing as, you know, a band. It's you're not in that phase of the existence of it now, you know, and I think that I really agree with the fact that I don't want to rush it either, you know, and especially with a lot of the bands that I like, it's, you know, yeah, you know, they'll come out with records, but like ask Tool to rush a record, you know, it's like it's
Right.
not gonna happen. They wait until it's as good as they think they can get it with like genuine artistic value. And I respect that a lot, you know, and I would want the same of myself because it's the guys I looked up to did the same thing, right? So,
That's
you know,
absolutely the way it
yeah,
should be, though, right?
I agree.
Like, you know, bands, I think a lot of times, you know, especially when you get signed to a label, what ends up happening, you get all of these chains attached,
Yeah.
and it weighs the band down, and you have to do this and you have to do that. You've got to have something out by here, and you're doing this, and you're got to be within, this box or whatever. And
3 minutes on the radio.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, hold on, what happened to being a band and just fucking creative? Like, I just was talking with Jimmy Bauer and Gary Mater, and that's exactly it. Is they're like, yeah, we figure it's time to do an album. Maybe it'll come out this year. We hope it does, but if it doesn't, man, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
I think, and I like the way they do it because they pay for everything and they hold everything and just license it to labels, right? Which
Yeah.
is
Which ideally, yeah. I mean, that's I think a place that most bands want to get to. I think, it's for bands that have been doing it for a while. I think I don't want to say it's easier, but it pays off a little bit more, I think, for them to approach the independent side. And I feel like even we could kind of do that because there is somewhat of this fan base that's there, right? But you try to take a band that's completely new that doesn't have that fan base and do
Right.
the same thing. It's a lot harder, right?
Yeah.
It's
not impossible though.
not impossible.
Not
No,
impossible.
what I'm saying is there's this advantage of like when you are on a label, there is that advantage of that it broadens your audience, right? It puts you out there. But once you kind of have that audience, you can kind of step away independently and be like, all right, I got this fan base now. I have this name that has something behind it. It's there's I just don't think there's more advantage, right,
Mhm.
to a band that has that over a band that doesn't. That has
Well,
there's just I think more harder
sure,
work, right?
Yeah.
Behind
right?
it.
Like
So
it's absolutely like that. And if if the new band says this is the way we want to do it, I don't know if you guys can hear that. My dogs are going nuts right now.
I thought it was my dog upstairs, so it might be like happening like in tandem.
So,
They know they're
like all
cycling
of them are
together.
like, I'm like, I think my daughter just got home from her boyfriend's house.
Yeah.
But if when the newer bands do it, right? Yeah, is it harder? It does take potentially a little longer, but what you build is so much more solid and it's yours, right?
yeah,
Let's look at, Tech Nine, right? Master P, Ani DeFranco, all of those people did exactly that, right? We're not going to sign to a label. We're going to build it. And they like Master P's a billionaire, right? And then Tech
yeah,
Nine is, multi-millionaire. I think Ani DeFranco's right there. And it's because they did it their way. And they kept artistic freedom. They held all of their publishing rights, and they were on no one else's timeline.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the freedom of that
Yeah.
is amazing. You know.
Yeah, and
Go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
oh no, you're good. You're good. No, and I think it's really you were saying it before where it's, you are on someone else's timeline, constraint, budget, and there's input from other sources that don't necessarily share the same
Vision.
feelings that you do, but the powers that be are kind of, you have to bow to Rome, so to speak, right? Like,
Yeah.
but I think obviously the obvious benefit of the independent part of it is it's your timeline, and I think that a good product will be genuinely good so you can do more with it, right? Like, obviously, if you're independent and it's a new band, you got a much harder route. It's not impossible, though. Plenty of people have done it, even as far back as like, look at like Pink
Sure.
Floyd. I know major label, but like Roger Waters wasn't like, that's an innovator doing something very difficult. Groundswell, I know someone bought moving pictures on vinyl recently. That's another great example of a kind of non-compromising cult band on a bigger scale. Obviously, major labels involved, but still that groundswell. And they kind of bought the right to be independent, develop the music they want. And I feel like the modern incarnate, at least for me, that comes to mind with that is Mastodon.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a band that sort of earned their freedom to evolve, experiment, do things. There's not another band to me that really, like, when you hear them, you know who it is. And I think there's such variety in what they do that, yes, major labels involved in that still, but I think
Yeah, but after the fact, right? So
yeah,
that's another aspect, because we can look at bands who they paved their way, they made their way, paid their dues touring and whatnot, and then the labels came to them and
yeah.
said, "Hey, we'll sign you. You're going to do this." And they're like, no, we're still going to do this, right? We're going to
But a
Yeah.
good product is a good product. I think that
absolutely.
major label involvement or not, they were going to be the band they were going to be regardless, and people would come to them.
Well,
So,
and
yeah,
part of that is like knowing the band's worth, right?
yeah,
Like it's almost like self-esteem at that point is, hey, we're gonna do it. And you can either come along for the ride or get the
Yeah.
hell out of the way.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, it just goes, if you believe enough in what you're doing and what you have, then if you have this vision that you're not letting go of, you do have this like bargaining power to a point of like, if you're proving that you don't need them, you know what I mean? Like I am focused on making this thing, and I don't care what it yields, if it 20 people like it or a
right.
million people like it, right? And you're just doing that, and your music is speaking for itself.
Hmm.
I mean, that's the power in that. Is it's just it's amazing to be able to go in with this feeling of like, we're just going to do what we do, and you're either on board or you're not,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and hopefully people dig
and
it.
yeah, and having that feeling now, where it's like, it's a different mindset for me, where, not to say that I did things for other people, but there was definitely this pressure of like, you had to amount to something, or like you had to be by the standard or do things this way, or you weren't going to make it.
Mm.
And I think for me, it was like this worry of, we got to do whatever we got to do to keep this train rolling. And so, like, there were, I think, some things business wise or whatever, where you sometimes folded a little bit, or at least I know I did, where it was just like, whatever we got to do just to like get this thing, the music, number priority. But yeah, I feel like there's the difference now is like, not feeling like you need a label, and feeling like we're just going to do what we do. It just, I kind of wish I had more of that feel behind me more back then,
Hmm.
like that mindset. Um, but I mean, ultimately, the music never wavered. I mean, I don't think we ever did anything that we were like, I don't know about this, and got pressured into, you know what I mean? Like, musically, I don't think we ever did anything like that. I that was something that could never waver, because we believed in it enough to where it was just like, this is our thing, and no one's gonna step in and be like, well, you got to do it, add in
Yeah,
like singing here or
yeah.
something,
You need
just
a
whatever.
catchy
You're like,
chorus line.
yeah, like,
Do it.
yeah, obviously, like, took critiques and advice when we worked with producers and
Yeah,
stuff like that, but
it's what they're there for.
um,
You know,
yeah,
Right.
to hear the stuff that you can. And
yeah,
to sort of, they're not coaching you on how to play the instrument, but they are trying to make the best possible product. And I feel like
absolutely,
hearing it with
yeah.
different ears, it's like your coach almost, right?
Yeah. Well,
Um,
someone. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, 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 you're fine. Go ahead. I was done. I'm gonna
I
drink
was
this
gonna say,
wine.
someone was talking about um, what's best for the album. I
Mhm.
was seeing some discussion online about that, and I agree with that. Like, I think that there's this. When you go in the studio, you kind of go in with like, you kind of have to let some of your ego and pride go a little bit to do what's best for the overall record, right?
Mhm.
So sometimes that means that somebody plays all the parts for one song or whatever, like guitar wise and things like that. Or sometimes you have to, there's, you know, little things that get done for like studio magic or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately what I was just trying to get at is I think that, you know, there's integrity of the music and integrity of like the album, right? And wanting to do the best for that, for what you're trying to accomplish. So tying that all together, having that freedom and confidence and believing what you can do and doing it your way it's like priceless, right?
Yeah.
It's honest work that's out there for people to enjoy it or not, you know, and you do that and leave it to people to do what they want with it.
Well,
So
yeah, I think a lot of musicians at the end of the day make music for themselves, right? Like
absolutely.
this is the release. This is what I want to get out. If people like it, awesome. If they don't, like, whatever, I still like it, you know, and those, in my opinion, those are some of the, you know, the best fucking albums,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know, like,
Yeah.
oh, I love, you know, I like creatives just because I'm fucking whacked out in the brain anyway, you know. But to see and hear what other people create is makes me want to create more than what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think being, you know, right. Well, I think that was like the Bob Dylan quote, right? Like the highest form of flattery is inspiration or something like that. Like the highest thing you can do is inspire someone, right? You know, and it's
Yeah.
always just like all the people that we liked growing up and now and new artists that we're kind of channeling. Like I feel like I take a piece out of all of that, you know, whether it's something that I'm like, oh, I really like this, so it's going to inspire something on the drums. Or, you know, if we're writing, you know, it's something where I'm like, shit, like I really like this on this particular record. I think we could make it, you know, but I feel like you kind of take it all in, you know, and it all kind of comes out, you know, in the studio and all that type of stuff. And I think there's, at least coming from where I was with this particular band, like there was such a heavy emphasis on the musicianship from the beginning. And I think that kind of was the overarching motif. So I feel like, you know, you go into the studio, there's so much stuff, like nothing's off limits, kind of, you know what I mean? So I think that
Yeah.
there's always that genuineness to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I feel like I'm trying to make like an abstract point here and I'm failing to do it, but I'm trying really hard.
I mean, ultimately, down to is I want to get an album. You know, that's if there's one thing that I can walk away and say, like I could really close a chapter is at least doing another album with Brian. You know, so
I know one guy that likes that. He's one.
All I want to say is I'm putting it out there in the universe that I want that to happen, and like, you know, that I wouldn't feel like I would feel like there's a lot I feel like we accomplished with this band, right? But there's one thing I could say that is not done for a reason, and that would be that reason is that there needs to be an album with Brian on it. Actually, just Brian on it.
It's just me.
It's just gonna be Brian.
Just Brian.
Like, yeah,
just
like,
Brian.
He was talking about one person serving the record, so like one guy's playing all the parts. I'm gonna play every instrument,
everything,
and sing. And then there might be like we were saying, like, part of my point, like being very inspired, like there's going to be like Lumineers and Mumford and Sons inspiration on here. There's going to be no drums. Those guys, they just stomp. That's it. It's just stomping on a box and clapping. And it's like every time he stomps his heel, he's like $100,000, $100,000. And I'm just like, we're doing it wrong. Like I bring so much gear to the gigs. I could simply just do that. So I think that's kind of the new direction for Battlecross 4 is going to be,
I think so too.
Really heavy Lumineers, just me. That's it.
The War of the Songwriter.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty good. And it's going to all be about different condiments, like each song. Like one will be mustard, relish, sweet relish. Maybe it's like a, you know, like kind of.
Can we have some siracha somewhere in there?
Yeah, Tony's gonna guest appear on that and then blast it all over everyone in Superjoint again. Oh my god, that was one of the absolute funniest days.
Please tell me the story.
All right, I gotta set it up. Let me remember it. So I think this is the second leg I so wish he was here, and out of anyone, I wish Don was here because me and him were sitting right next to each other when this happened. So we're on tour midway through the second leg, and I think we were in Arizona or something like that. And I have to say it was that because that same day I saw the largest saguaro cactus I've ever seen in my life. It was literally like 50 feet tall. It was insane.
Fuck.
So I remember that. And there were wild horses that day too, if you remember Hiran running around wherever we're at. So
Mhm.
like we're in some like kind of like trailer thing where like you can park up. So it's us, Child Bite, it's Super Joint, and we sort of put our van and trailer next to Super Joint's bus and trailer, and we kind of ran this little canopy. So there's like a tunnel, kind of, right? So there's wind going through. We're in the desert, whipping by. So day off, everybody's drinking, whatever else thing, having a good time. And I feel like everyone had a lot of couple drinks at that point. So me and Don come off Super Joints bus and we're just kind of sitting there and we're feeling good. Feeling pretty good at that point. So I'm watching Tony pick up like a hot dog or something, and he's standing at sort of the front, like obviously where the bus door would be, and we're sitting right there. And he's struggling to like get sriracha onto the hot dog. And I'm like watching it, and he's not understanding that like he's got to undo the cap because it's clogged a little bit. So he's just like one hand squeezing it, and I'm like, it's gonna blow. Like it's gonna be bad. And it was almost like me and Don both predicted this simultaneously, and we were like cracking jokes about it. And sure as shit, he squeezes it too hard for like fucking 3 seconds, and it's just this stream of just pressure induced sriracha hot sauce blasting out of this thing. But also remember how I said it was a wind tunnel, so it went back all the way, hit everyone. It's Super Joint, Child Bite, table. It's like literally everywhere. He like pepper sprayed everyone. He was so pumped because he was like looking at himself, and me and Don are like unhinged at this point. Because we knew it was coming. And when it actually came to fruition, like I was struggling to take oxygen in because I was laughing so hard. And, and but he had his favorite sweatshirt on, his Mayhem Fest sweatshirt, and he said that, and I looked at it, and it was like just coated with just splotchy like sriracha. So I lost it again when I was looking at that. So I don't know if he kept it. I really hope he did, almost like the Monica Lewinsky dress, but I don't know.
Oh, auction that shit off.
Yeah, but that was the Tony Sriracha story, and it was an eventful day. Saguaro cactus, literally wild horses running around the campsite, not a joke. And then Tony does that. I miss it.
Uh, fucking pepper sprayed everyone. How
Oh, dude.
nice.
I just remember me and Don just unconsolable for like 20 minutes because it was also like I said, we were feeling all right. We were obviously getting off Super Joints bus, take that as you will. But yeah, it was definitely that was a great moment. And then there was another moment where Tony woke me up out of a sound sleep to tell me he took a number two behind a dumpster and realized he had no toilet paper and stole my stage towel and used that. And then was so eager to tell me about it the next day. He's like, dude, your stage towel saved my life. I shouldn't, he's not here. I shouldn't be telling all this dirty laundry. That one's harmless though.
Oh, that's so fucking funny though. You're like, well, I guess I got to get a new fucking stage towel.
Yeah, I was even more like surprised because he was like, dude, you got to go check it out. And I'm like, do I? Like, do I really? Like, I'm like, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. Like, what? Like, let me at least get some caffeine in me
He's
first.
like, dude, it like exploded all over the side of the dumpster.
I just said, Chad, dude, if we're gonna go there, because like, I mean, this is really like, I don't want to turn this into like Hoop Story Central. Keep it classy, but he goes back and shows me, and it literally looked like a cow pie. Just, I was like, I didn't even understand how it happened. I'm like, dude, like you had to, like, the towels, like it's almost like the something about Mary thing, where it's like I don't understand how the towel was where it was in relation to the mound. I guess. But yeah, he's Tony, I will say, is one of the most proud like flatulence people I've ever met in my life. He really
Oh.
gets a hearty chuckle out of farts, as do I.
So do
As
I.
do I. I mean, but like he just appreciates it.
My
like
wife hates it, dude.
yeah, I feel like Trish it speaks to his wife because I feel like she's just been conditioned. Maybe she's Stockholm syndrome with farts, and that's why they're so good, you know. I'm kidding.
Oh fuck.
But I will say this: I love both of them dearly, and I feel like as far as like working functional couples in bands, I have been very fortunate to meet a lot of them. Jason and his wife, Jonna. I think Tony and Trish are like awesome married couple, and I give her a lot of credo for doing that. Yes. Look at this little bean.
Every fucking time. She's just
Oh,
like,
I didn't see.
oh, here, look.
Little
Oh,
beans.
little kitty. That
Yeah.
little kitty.
Yeah, that's Sophia. She
Cute.
like
Sweetheart.
what as it gets later in the day, she comes running up to the top of the stairs and she's like, hey, come on, it's fucking time. Let's
Yeah,
go.
it's time. Let's go. We gotta go to work.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh fuck.
dude, cats rule. I never thought I was gonna be a cat person, and then my fiance had a cat that I inherited when we moved in together. And I'm a big animal person. But I feel like everyone has had good experiences with cats where like they're awesome. And then there's cats that are just kind of not cool, or just mean for whatever reason, So I was like very like, I don't know about this. Like it goes to the bathroom in the house in a box. Like I don't love that. It's the best decision I've ever made. Like my cat rules. Our cat rules. Her cat rules. It's
Her
not really
cat
mine.
rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like the stepfather, I stepped up. I stepped up.
Dude,
Oh,
same. I was always a dog person heavily, and then I started when I started pet sitting for friends was when I really got like closer to cats. But then when I was living in Dearborn Heights with Anna um, and
Oh, is that
Phil,
Jules? Oh my God.
Jules,
Oh,
man,
the
Jules made me
best
like
cat.
I absolutely love that cat.
Oh,
is that
dude.
the one-eyed cat?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that I love that cat.
What a
So
little mensch. Such a little
yeah.
mensch.
But yeah, totally became a cat person from just, other people's cats. And now that I have a cat, I'm getting like the complete opposite experience I've had with the cat, which is this cat is hiding from me. It's,
Yeah.
You
not what I'm used to.
you
But
just gotta play it cool. The cat will
Yeah.
come
oh,
like
I
Oh, it'll
know.
come
So-
to you.
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
got this cat when we were in our last house. We had a flood. We ended up moving a few months later. We moved into the new house. She fucking went right to the basement and wouldn't come out. She literally just started coming out. We've been here. Hold on, I gotta think. We moved in 2017. She just started coming out in 23.
Wow.
Mm.
Damn.
And now she's like, okay, like I missed you guys.
She's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me the
It
attention.
takes time.
No,
Yeah.
and I know that, it's just for me, it was just like a weird to just experience that off. Like I knew like they adjust, right? But I think there was that hopefulness of like this cat's gonna love me, and she's just she's on her own terms, which is cool, like because aside from that, like everything's cool with her. So
How old is it, Huron?
she's like 10 years.
Okay, so it's like an
she's an older
cat.
cat.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
she's a tortie too, and torties have
Yeah.
they're known for their attitudes and just being like very, I guess, clingy to previous owners. So she's
I'll tell you
adjusting
what.
from that too.
This is only coming to mind just given the nature of the podcast. This is a kind of cool story because I wanted to make an earlier point when you said you were a dog person. When I first joined the band and all that, I thought one of the raddest things that we would sell at merch is Hiran would actually get signed prints of himself that he would sell, which sounds egotistical until you find out that the money he
Money
gets from
went to
that
the
he
rescue.
donated to Detroit Dog Rescue, and it's like that's the coolest thing ever. You know what I mean? Because I know if I was selling framed photos of myself, I would be keeping all of that. And he helping the doggos. You know what I mean? I'm a terrible person. He's not. um, but no, what I was gonna say, this is reminding me, if we're talking about cats, like one of the coolest, strange touring experiences I ever had was the first night of the first tour I had ever been on in my life with Shadows Fall on my birthday back in like 2012, maybe, or something. I was like 22 years old. And we wound up staying at a farm that someone in the band either knew someone, or I think they're dating or at the time or whatever. And it was like an animal sanctuary. So it
Oh,
was
that's cool.
inundated with cats, though. Specifically, there were like 50 cats.
And
And
no
I
fucking
remember,
mice.
dude, it was so cool though. There was like a donkey, like all the stuff. There was like a thing out back that she had. It was kind of like a cat rescue, but I remember the coolest part of the whole thing, right? So I remember I get, put in a room somewhere. Jay wasn't there. And so I'm like meeting all these people for the first time in Shad's, and, all this woman's house we're staying at and all this and whatever. And I'm in this creepy old farmhouse alone. And there's like the bathroom upstairs was like a 2-door thing. So one entrance from my room, one from the hallway.
Farmer's daughter. I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, no, dude. But literally, I just feel this like insane kind of weird sensation, right? And there's a fucking cat that kind of slinks out of the bathroom, and I turn the light on, whatever, and it's the oldest cat I've ever seen in my life, dude. And it's like, you ever see a cat that's like 30 years old or something, where it's like it's like fossilized but alive, if that makes sense. And I'm like, don't know any people, strange house, strange situation. This shit is literally 5 inches from my face in a sound sleep with in like a candlelit room, basically, like somewhere in North Carolina. And I'm like, this is tour, like this is great. Like, but I often think back to that because of how much it scared the shit out of me. Because I was like, what the fuck is this?
Fossilized cat staring
Yeah,
at you.
dude. Yeah, I was like, did you ever see Futurama? It's like, it was like Fry's dog. Like, it was that, you know what I mean? But yeah, that was an intense experience. And then things got better with Chad's. They kept hiring me. So.
It was all uphill from there, or all downhill from there,
huh? There were high points. I remember when I was earning my stripes with those guys, like, it might have actually been with Hatebreed on the tour that I think I met Battlecross on. But I remember, and this, I don't remember what city it was in, but like one of Hatebreed's crew, it might have been Anthrax, actually. This might have been a different tour. Anthrax Crew's guys got on like a mechanical bull, and he was like someone who was like, yeah, he's gonna party. He's totally getting on it. And so he gets on it and he rides it. And of course he gets off, and I'm like the new guy, right? I'm Jay's tech for like the first or second time or something, right? And he just immediately points at me. He's like, you go. And dude, I held on to that shit for like 2 minutes straight. I earned my stripes and whatever. And I just remember the guy was getting kind of heated, right? Because it's like the whole tour package, Anthrax, I think Exodus was on the run, whatever.
Yeah.
Jay, all those guys. And this guy eventually slinked me off, and the whole like saddle handle right to my groin. And I was just out. But like, it was almost like I was like, yeah, you're like the cool kid that like, like you earned your shit in high school. You're in the popular kids now because you held on to 2 minutes, even though you'll never have children because they are shattered into a million pieces,
Why are my balls all big and black and blue? I don't know.
My balls were big physically because of trauma physically, but they were also big metaphorically because of how well of a bull rider I am. So cool stories from my past, right? Who knew?
Brian and the fucking bull riding Brian. That's what we're gonna call you.
Yeah.
Not even Brian Zink anymore.
Yeah, bull riding Brian.
Bull riding Brian.
When me and Megan get married, that's what I'm gonna make her call me, like in her wedding vows, is bull riding Brian.
Dude, I wanna marry you.
Well, actually, hold on. Take a tea here because Hiran can verify this. So, speaking of all of this, I did, when I found out I was getting, I proposed and all that stuff in July, I hit Hiran up and was like, dude, like, if I was going to possibly perchance have a live band at the wedding, and there were perchance maybe perhaps some real instruments there. You think you could squeak one out? At the wedding, maybe we'll, whatever. And you said you were into it. So I was immediately like, okay, that's great. Like, even if that's that's the last time we play whatever song, it would be amazing. So I say this to my fiance, and she's kind of like, hey, like, I don't want to like shit in your cornflakes here, but you have two 90-plus-year-old grandmothers attending the wedding. You're going to kill both of them if you play force-fed lies in this beautiful setting. So
like, okay, so force-fed lies is out. We got a bunch of other ones.
Let's say this. Like, if I'm at my wedding, ain't no way I want to get up there half in the bag playing 220 BPM. Like, I ain't doing that, man. Nah. We're trying to party. Like, pick something easy if we're gonna do. But no. So my grandmother comes out to shows that I'll play locally all the time. She's 93 years old, and she'll come out and fucking party, which is awesome. She was more worried about her grandmother, and I was like, so I kind of, they're over visiting one day, and I was like, so Dell, name's Adele, I'm like, so I got this friend who plays in this band with me, and he's thinking about maybe doing this song at the wedding. Megan thinks you're going to be really upset about it and not going to like it. Like, it's a little loud. Like, what do you think? And she was like, oh yeah, like full send, like went in whole hog. She's full support, dude. So I'm just saying, like, leave that on the table for you guys to chew and digest as you will.
Oh, that's what I've been practicing, guys.
All those videos you were talking about, it was for my wedding.
So I'm getting ready for Brian's wedding.
Yeah, dude, 2025, we got plenty of time, and maybe we write a song or two in there.
Maybe live while it's happening.
Oh, there we go.
We're gonna record a jam at my wedding. That's gonna be great.
Yeah, just fucking. Let's mix the accents and Battlecross together.
Yeah. Oh, dude. The accents.
We'll do a fucking an album together.
Dude, I think it would be great. I think it would be just like, it would probably sound a lot like the iPad stuff, just heavy, but also just so much synth arpeggiation.
That'd be great.
Oh, fuck. You guys crack me up. See, this is why we need more live shows, because this shit.
If it's just for the comedy routine too, man.
Right.
We'll just start. Hey, man, fucking Paul from Cannibal Corpse. He's doing stand up now, so maybe that's what'll be our new thing.
Who else I hear is doing stand up now?
Who?
If there was a person that we both know that's also a drummer, I'll give you that clue. Who do you think it would be doing stand up? Who's one of the funniest people you've ever met that could do stand up, and a drummer that you guys have toured with?
Is it Corey?
It is Corey.
No shit.
Yeah, dude.
No shit.
He had the fucking line of lines on the cruise, which we could address that whole situation if you want.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Got here.
So sorry, first, I don't want to hijack Tom's.
No, I don't.
This is good shit. It's great content.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever you want. Like, if we're getting off the rails, like, I have a tendency to just talk. So
reel us in if you need to.
Rein me in. Yeah, give me the shepherd's crook, like vaudeville style, baby.
I'm totally good with it. Like, when I fucking have a question, I'm gonna up. I swear.
Okay, so the cruise. So we'll talk about this. So the first thing I'll say about the cruise was it was fucking great, and I felt like we were all so upset that it had gone off with such flying colors. Everyone from the boat crew, the band crew.
Which cruise was it? Headbangers or 70?
We did the Lamb of God cruise, so
Headbangers boat.
Yeah, nice. And it was, dude, it was awesome. That part of it, and we were upset because obviously someone didn't make it back, which is upsetting. And it was so disheartening because it was so good otherwise, you know what I mean? And we really didn't want it to be a besmudging thing of an overall good event. So first things first. So obviously the quote with Corey, and me and Bittner have joked around about this for months after with Corey. We just saw him in Jersey, obviously. So we're doing all the, gear setup, all that stuff. And there's a 16-inch floor tom and an 18-inch floor tom on the rental kit. And Jay and Corey were kind of playing back-to-back sets, so they're just going to share it and kind of set it up, kind of equally. Makes my job a little easier. So Jay usually uses a 14 and a 16. right? So I was kind of floating around in the back, and I'm like, "Ah, dude, like I found a 14." I'm like, "Corey, do you want this 14?" And he's like, "I don't need that shit. I'm a grown ass man." This is the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. And now I feel completely inadequate playing a 14-inch floor tom. It's like I need the 16 because I myself have not been a grown ass man. So me and Bittner thought that was the funniest shit I've ever heard in my life. So it's become a thing. As far as the cruise and stuff like that, dude, it was great. Like the bands were cool, everyone was great. I got to see Ashes of the Wake from start to finish behind our cruise's drum
A
set.
lot of the bands, like,
Did it? What was that?
meet a lot of the bands that were on there, or
Yeah, I think the thing that was cool is like, I don't know your guys' experience with cruises. It, you can only go to the front and the
I've never
back of a
done one.
ship so many. Like I would totally go again, even with the kind of tragedy that occurred. But I mean, like after 5-6 days, you can't really go to the front. You mingle with everybody. Everybody's hanging. You run into people.
Sure.
And I will say to credit where credit is due, any fan that we encountered on that boat was so cool. There were no punishers really, not one that I can think of. And everyone was really cool about maintaining like an
What is a
appropriate social
punisher?
distance. Oh, I'll explain this. So we meet a lot of people, and some people are really cool. Sometimes we befriend them and we're on their podcasts and we know about their private lives, and it extends there because they're cool with us and we're cool with them, and that's all we want, essentially. Then there are other people sometimes who probably great people, but have had 37 beverages and whatever else. And it's the end of the show. You're just trying to meet everybody at merch, and one particular person just can't let you go, or just wants to talk about a number of things, right? But it's that kind of thing where it's just like, not to say they're bad people or anything like that, but it's just sometimes it's like, shit, dude, like it's been 45 minutes. Like I don't need the dissertation. Like spit it out, whatever. And it's hard because it's
Yeah.
like I feel like everyone with us, like we do really care a lot about the fans. And I feel like, I got 5 minutes for anyone if they want to talk, especially about something that I do that, like I
Yeah.
enjoy and they enjoy and all that stuff. But there are other points where it hits a social limit and you're kind of like, okay, like we gotta get going here.
Wrap it up.
Yeah. So we actually developed a thing, which I don't know if I should be telling everyone. It's like I'm peeling back the curtains of Oz here. Maybe I won't reveal what I won't reveal what the signal is, but internally in Battlecross, we have a signal that if someone else sees it, almost like the Batman light, they'll know that we are in a situation that they need to come rescue us from. And they'll
We need
come up and
saving.
basically be like, dude, we got a signing. Dude, you got to move your kit. Dude, we got to go. Something, anything. And then they safely retrieve the person. And then they're no longer being punished. So,
Okay,
I've been
that's
around a lot of bands. It's definitely a thing that happens, and again, like I said, not that they're bad people, just some people's social grace is not the same.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, if you go to a bar and just around somebody that's really drunk and they just don't, and it's just someone that eventually gets in your space where it's just like, okay,
Did
a little too
you
much,
Alec Baldwin
they're
shot that
repeating
guy?
themselves. They're getting
Yeah.
too close.
Oh,
they
that's
end
the
up
best.
almost.
The one that like there's physical contact and they're like hanging on you, and I'm
Too
like, bro,
much, and you're
my
like,
shoulder
man.
can't sustain. Please remove. like please remove. Yeah. But yeah, so that's what that is.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a like equivalent on the good side, like it not a punisher, but like a pleasurer.
Fluffer.
yeah, fluffer.
It's a
That's
fluffer.
basically, yeah. That's those are the fans
Hey,
who really
this person's
like.
a real fluffer.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this, right? Off the Punisher fluffer kind of fucking scenario here.
Mhm.
What is there a show that really sticks out to you guys that was like, man, this experience was really fucking cool, aside from, right, let's say aside from the last show.
Can I
Yeah,
ask a clarifier here? Is this one that I have played, one that I've attended, or one that I teched for?
Ooh.
Because I can give you a couple.
all of the above.
Ron, do you want to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay. So one that wasn't me playing, but was Battlecross that really sticks out to me, was when we were in Europe and your old tour manager happened to cross paths with us, who happened to be tour managing The Offspring. And the five of us and like Dexter Holland's wife and two kids, that was it. We got to watch them side stage at a festival in front of like thousands of people. And it was like, just like the hit parade. It was all the songs we all really liked, and that to me was a kind of surreal moment because we had just played the festival beforehand. And that was like, this is like heavy shit. Like we're doing it. We're here and we're side stage for this because of someone that your band knew that you worked with. And I was like, that's really cool to me. Ones that stick out that aren't the last one that I played with you guys, I'll say this. One for me that was huge was Webster Hall with Guar, because that was my home state in a venue I've been to a lot and have seen shows there. And we were in the big room at Webster Hall, and that was the first one that my parents came out to on my first run with you guys, and we fucking tore it apart that night because that was the first night that we did Hostile, and Postulus came out and played with us. And the thing is, it's like I think a lot of people will say it, but crowds have a different mentality depending on the city, and New York City is the hardest crowd, I feel like, because they've seen it all, so they're not easily impressed. And I knew it was like the second or third song in, like they were really digging it, and we were playing a great show. And it just was such a high culmination that my parents were there. It was the first one, New York City. This is huge, right? Like, so that was a big one for me. And then as far as ones that I teched for, teching for Overkill in Japan, and then they do the show. Winger was on the other stage while I was setting up, which is amazing. Rod Morgenstein and Winger. And we were at the Tokyo Dome or whatever, like 80,000 people. So Overkill plays, great set. I'm teching for that. And then the band on the adjacent stage that was playing when we were breaking down was Slayer. So I got to see Slayer live in Japan, basically side stage in front of like 80,000 people. And
Nice.
it was fucking rad. And I got to go to Japan. So like that was also rad. So that was a big one for me. Yeah. Yep.
Huron?
All right. So just a show I played, or just kind of the same thing?
Same thing.
That Brian, okay. Oh man. Okay.
There was that first one in Cincinnati that Brian played.
Well, I want to kind of combine a couple.
Yeah.
Because this Hell Festival in Drumheller was one of my favorite Brian show moments, because that was just such a cool. I remember I'm fuzzy on getting there, but wasn't it very we didn't even get time to chill in the hotel, right? Or was that a different show?
No. It was the Drumheller one, because I think you're thinking of the one that it was we drove to Vancouver from I flew after work on a Friday to Detroit. We had a rehearsal at midnight. I slept on Tony's floor from 3 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. We got on a plane in Windsor, which was a drive after we loaded all the gear up. We flew to Toronto. We flew to Vancouver. We got out of Vancouver, drove an hour, and we played that festival in that huge field. And it was that big logging.
Okay, so it wasn't that one. It wasn't.
Drumheller was the one where we went to
the
Royal Tyrrell Museum, which was fucking also awesome. We had a lot of good Canada shows, man.
Yeah, so that the reason why Drumheller was cool is because not only was that a cool show, but we got to go to that museum, and it was on the Badlands, and it was such a cool, fun experience.
That was really
and cool. Then I want to combine that with Europe with Brian, because that was one of my most fun times in Europe.
But I got super sick for 2 weeks.
just our last time in Europe,
It's for
so
telling the
much
Tony
fun.
shit story, Brian. It's your fault.
Oh, dude, if you want like the poop story to end all poop stories, like it occurred in Europe, and if we want to go there, maybe this is like not for podcast.
We'll segue into it.
Well, yeah, but let him, yeah.
So that whole experience was awesome because we were like in the Sprinter van, and I remember that it was really hot that summer too. So
Yeah, we were there in July.
like in July,
No
it's
AC.
fucking nasty hot. There's no AC in this thing.
None.
So we're literally and staying at like campgrounds. We're camping out because we're gonna like sleep in this vehicle. It's got bunks. So we're just basically finding any camp place that has power. We just hook up. But really that's not doing much.
No.
As far as like cooling wise, but it was just the experience of it. One of my favorite stops was like we went out and there's this like lake, but the lake you go all the way out in the middle
Oh,
of it.
yeah.
It's up to your waist. It was
In
just that
Hungary.
shallow. Yeah.
We barbecued that whole day. Oh, that was
Yeah,
where
it was
that
awesome.
was where the poop story happened.
Okay,
mind you,
so
if you remember.
Brian,
No. I mean,
lead it in.
do we really want? Do we want to do this?
Hey man, if you want to do it, this is your story.
I mean,
so.
I don't mind, but I want you to actually
I
feel
don't
like
mind.
you answered your question. Okay.
No. Yeah, this is a good segue.
This is a good segue. It's the scene.
Tell
of
the
crime.
shit story. Quit
All right.
quit stalling.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna set it up. I'm gonna set it up good. So, okay. So as Hiran explains, we are in Europe mid-tour. We are in a campground in Hungary, and I think we had just played a festival a day or two prior, also in Hungary, not Budapest. So I don't remember exactly where it was, but I remember they made me drink some alcohol that might as well have been lighter fluid, and they're like, "Yeah, we love it," and I'm like, ugh. So either way, so that probably wasn't helping, the stuff that was going in my body, right? So I also got sick on this tour. So this is like kind of the tail end of the sickness, but I'm not out of the woods yet, right? So to set this up, the night before when we were driving, and I don't know if you remember this, Hiran, we wound up stopping at this place, random bus stop in Europe. Not even a bus stop, but it was like like a equivalent of like a mobile or something, right? Like little gas station. We all had to pee so bad. We walk in. The way this joint's set up is it's like the guy behind the register and kind of this like semicircle of like candy and shit in front of him. So we're just trying to say to the guy, dude, we gotta go pee, right? So he's like, get out of my store. You can't pee here. So our TM, who speaks like 7 different languages, is arguing with him and, like what's going on. So all the while this is happening, I look down and there's just €100 sitting on some like candy. So I'm like, and I just take it and I put it in my pocket. I don't say anything. The guy's being a jerk. So I'm like, I figured it was one of these guys went to buy something, inadvertently dropped it. So I was honest. After, if you remember correctly, we went and pissed all over the guy's building. How fucking asshole. So basically we go back and I'm like, hey, like real talk, did anyone lose €100? So they're like, no. So I'm like, sick. So not only did I pee on this guy's building because he was a dick, but I also probably stole money from him because he was a dick. Karma. So his loss, my gain, bank error, my favor, right? It's like Monopoly. So either way, that turns into we stop at Aldi's the next day. We get all this barbecue shit. Like we're barbecuing, we're whatever. We get to the campsite in Hungary. We're grilling all day. We're in the reservoir he's talking about that literally was like 4 feet deep for like 4 miles out. So you could just keep walking. It's up to your waist. It was awesome. And so point being, we're eating really good. We're drinking all day. We're doing the whole thing. And when I first go to Europe for the first time, Bittner warns me about, you got to be careful because some of the places aren't going to have a normal toilet. It's going to be a hole in the ground with rudders that you stand on. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I, been to Europe before and, we were kind of halfway. I've never encountered it. So I'm like, it must not be that, relevant anymore. Maybe it's a dated system. So the next morning, later that night, I go to the bathroom. It must have been the next morning because Hiran, you were in the bathroom when this happened and you were like showering, I think, right? And our TM's in there shaving or whatever. I go to open the stall with the toilet, locked, can't go in. I go to the one right next to it, and there she is, waiting for me. All polished up nice, right? It's the rudders, the whole thing, the little brush hanging next to it. And I'm kind of like sitting there collecting my thoughts, just like, I guess this is it. Like, separate the men from the boys here. Like, let's go. Like, I gotta try it. So I'm hesitant because it's new. So I'm trying to figure out like how I'm supposed to position. So, you know, you pull the pants down, you don't think about it, but you can't do that with your pants down because it sort of creates a hammock that you're gonna, you know, distribute into. So I
Yep.
take my pants off and kind of toss them to the side, whatever. So I'm in there half dressed at this point, and now I'm kind of, you know, like hands on, you know, whatever, my quads, and I'm sort of staring down at the hole, trying to, you know, kind of line
Kind of
her
line
up.
up.
Yeah, and dude, this is not a joke. It's not a joke. I do the thing, and it's like 1 foot long, solid piece because I'm trying to like pay attention to make sure it goes where it's supposed to. I Steph Curry 3-pointer, nothing but net this thing. It's in there like I am the Tiger Woods hole in one shot. Like it's a 1 in a billion. Like it didn't even make a noise. It just done. Like it's in the hole. So I, as a result, am like, oh my fucking God, it went in the hole. I can't fucking believe I'm losing my mind in the bathroom stall that other people are in. Rod's in the shower. And I just remember being like, dude, you all right? Like, did something happen? And I'm like, it went in the fucking hole. I can't fucking believe it. So I'm flipping out. I run out of there after wiping my ass. I'm not gross. So I go, I tell Gumby, Hiran obviously finds out what happened. I tell everybody that I'm like the MVP of like the poop Olympics, right? So then I find out other people had to try it because it was so great in my experience that they didn't want to leave it on the table with them if they could have also had such an enriching experience. And from what I hear, I know Gumby went back and he used backboard, let's say, if mine was a swish. And then I heard someone else who shall remain nameless went back and didn't quite hit the rim, so to speak. And it was a little bit more problematic for them. So but that was it. That was one of my favorite poop stories on tour. Not, and I would say that's probably number one. Second to me, I also pooped into the Grand Canyon once on a very long hike because I had to, and I risked it all and pooped off of a ledge of the Grand Canyon. And I'm admitting this, so
it's amazing.
it's pretty
You're
amazing.
probably not the only one who's shit off the ledge into the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, but I remember I was nervous. I was surprised I rose to the occasion, so to speak, just because it was definitely like, whoa, that's a lot of canyon. It's grand.
That shit story is going to make for a hell of a reel.
That's cool. That's good. I'm a professional.
I wonder if your shit off the Grand Canyon like killed a Bigfoot or a ram.
Like a ram that smashes its head with another ram, and then the force of it is so strong it rips its head off. This is like, honestly, like, Tom, if you're really curious what like most of the drives in the van were like, it was basically this.
Oh,
like us joking around, and then we would stop at bathrooms and sort of collect more stories to tell. You know?
I'm certain of it. I know, even just, you know, with the fucking group, you know, Brian and Nate and everyone. Fuck, dude. Like those freaking we collect our stories too. I still get fucking random picture of me passed out behind the merch booth in Fort Wayne, like, hey, like either behind the merch booth or I'm up on the fucking stairs, like I just need more water. Dude, I was so trashed. Oh. All right. Huron, you want to finish your story?
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
So no, it's good. It was an important segue.
It was, yeah, I thought it yeah.
The shows with Kill Switch were always awesome. Those guys were so cool to tour with. Man, it's really hard to pick. I mean, going to South America with those guys we got to do Brazil with them, and that was incredible. Probably some of the most insane, just the way it was unreal because we had never been there before, and I remember the curtains were closed and people were chanting Battlecross. I mean, you're hearing this full crowd chanting the band name, and we're like, I couldn't believe
us.
Like, they're chanting our band name. Like, what? Like, it was just, you know, to never have been to a place and have this audience like that loud for you was insane. So just that whole thing with them was amazing. Obviously, Orion. I mean, it's really hard to pinpoint just one,
I
but I
feel like
mean,
we had
those
a
are
lot
obvious.
of
Those are like the highlights, right? Like, I mean, every band that I've toured with, there's always like a good story or just like a good memory with it. I don't think there's really anybody I've toured with that was like, you know, I hated it or it was bad. I mean, there might have been bad memories within the tour, so like something going wrong, but the tour itself and the people we were out with were always great. So
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know.
Well, that's fucking cool. Like I think I like to think I've caught you guys on about every fucking tour you did, like 2012 and later,
Yeah,
but I know there's a
yeah,
couple I
man.
missed.
Just I mean, being a fan too. Like there were bands I got to go out with that I was such huge fan, like such a big fan of, and it was kind of like surreal. And then at the same time, there are also bands I went out with that I didn't necessarily like really listen to and didn't know, but by the end of that tour, I was like a fan of them, you know? Um, so it just the surreal moments and then just the cool moments of it all, like just, I mean, even the fact that where I am now, I can still reflect on that stuff and be like, I got to do
yeah,
that,
Yeah.
and it's insane to me, that I had that opportunity to do that, so
oh, I feel
crazy
like
shit, dude.
yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
lot of
it's
hard
just
work though, dude, right? Like it
yeah. Well, I mean,
wasn't like it was
yeah,
just handed to you. You worked your ass off to get, to get into that and where you into that position and where you are now, right? To create those memories. And that's ultimately, right? Like life's short. You've got to fucking
Yeah.
go for it. Um,
Hard
so
work, like when you're in Canada and you're driving for 3.5 hours and the GPS tells you to make a U-turn and drive exactly back the 3 hours you just came when you're already late. You remember that when you were driving Huron?
uh,
I was co-piloting.
it,
Haran is not a person who gets upset very easily, and I will say that is one of the things I respect the most about him. He's always very cool, clear, level-headed. It takes a lot for you, I think, to get really, really worked up. Unlike me, who it's like I just get pissed immediately about nothing. Um, but I remember when that happened, there were a couple things that and the so that happened, right? Like we were already late, and he drove 3 hours for the thing to tell us to take a U-turn on the highway.
it wasn't 3 hours, but it was like an
It
hour,
was
like
long
out
enough
of
where it
it was
sucks.
long enough to where it was like I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? You just
Yeah.
led me like an hour this way just to turn around. Like I was so pissed.
And I just
Is
remember
it
being like co-piloting and trying to be like, I'm so sorry, buddy. Like, because you're like inconsolable at that point. Because you're like, this is bullshit. Like, are you kidding? I was saying this to someone the other day that they were asking about it, and I just remember having this collection of memories that you somehow inevitably always got the stupidest bullshit with driving. You were the one that we're late to a venue in New Orleans. We get trapped at a construction site. You finally get out of that after like a half hour, pinned behind a buggy, literally being pulled by a horse in the streets of New Orleans for like a half hour. You're just like, this is bullshit. There was the time where you, dude, do you remember when you got in the argument with the construction workers? Because they're like, oh, we have this huge bulldozer, like, kind of thing,
Yeah, they're like, oh,
backhoe,
you can
whatever.
pull up. I was like,
And we're
no,
like,
I
literally,
cannot
dude,
pull up.
we cannot pull up. The space is not as wide as the trailer. We're going to hit something. And he argued with you for like 25 minutes. And eventually he's like, oh, yeah, I don't think you can get through. We'll just move this thing. And then we got through after they moved it. That was insane. Oh,
Yeah,
God. But yeah, to your point, I will say this. It is a very rich collection of memories on a lot of different fronts. And I feel like I could definitely wax poetic about all the different kind of axis of memories that you have, right? Because there's the shows,
yeah,
there's stuff between us, there's things with other bands. I will still say it was so cool to go out with Guar, just because it was, they're a band that like the production value of the show is so integral to what they do, and to see that as like an up and coming band about like there's these guys that have been doing it so long, and it's still they're working so hard to put on a good show. It's like how do you not want to play harder because of that? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And they were
yeah.
such down to earth dudes, and I remember going out, and hanging with Brad, getting, whiskey and cigars and stuff, and just talking with him about business and all this stuff, that he had such good insight into so many things, and how
Yeah.
to run a band for as long as he did, and there's that personal connection. And then there was the time I asked him at his house in Virginia, this band, who's this? I really like this record you're playing. And it was Guar. And he was totally ready to just like eviscerate me. And luckily, Joe and Don, both massive Guar fans, kind of stepped in and were like, "You're stupid, bro." Like, so, but yeah, there's I've had several foot and mouth situations, I would say, as this podcast has probably revealed.
It's okay. It could always be fucking worse,
It
right?
could be. He was very cool about it. But no,
Your
I
nose
mean,
could be gushing blood.
That's true.
yeah, I mean that's happened
So
at shows.
when Dion has one of those moments with Jason Bittner when we were in fucking Worcester for the Shads reunion.
Was
We
he
were all
cool? Was he cool with them?
you don't fucker. Hold on. We were all
All
at
right.
breakfast. You were there, you and Tony.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Dion
And he
fucking
came,
stands up to shake his fucking hand, and
and then
Jason's like,
wasn't he?
"Nope, I'm not fucking shaking no one's hand."
No, and that was like, wasn't that during like right when COVID was going on too?
Yeah,
And he was
like
really
there
like
was a
he got.
huge fucking uptick,
I
and he
know.
was like, "Nope, fucking, this is too important." And Dion was like, uh,
I know. And he's not, I will say this, I feel like Jay has been doing this a long time, and I've been around him a lot, and I feel like he's always cool with fans. I've never seen him really be shitty to a fan at all, and it's not the dude he is. And, I think like us, it's like a lot of the stuff I learned about how to treat our people was by seeing how my
well,
mentor band treated them or whatever.
to be
But
fair, I don't think he didn't treat Dion like shit. He just didn't
no,
shake
no,
hand because he
he
sat
wouldn't shake his
right
hand.
down. He just
Yeah.
sat right down with us. We all had fucking breakfast, so it
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay.
It was that was all it was. He was very, and especially too, because like, there were bands that I even remember going to see that, we would know someone in the crew or the camp or something. So like I wouldn't have to get like a regular ticket and like, oh, I'm going to see such and such a band. I can't even go shake my friend's hand or give him a hug because COVID, or you couldn't, I remember for a long time, go on the bus or do any of that because it was very sealed off kind of COVID bubble thing,
Yeah,
I'm fortunate that, we know a couple people in the Styx camp and the drummer from Styx or whatever. So usually when he's in town, me and Bittner will go and kind of see him. And we didn't even go just because we couldn't even go say hi, and I think I was gigging or something else. But like, even still, it was just like, it was such a bummer because like the hang is such a cool part of it,
yeah,
catching up with people and stuff. And I feel like that personal part of it was really severely diminished in COVID, amongst other things, right? So I will say it feels nice to have that back 4 years down the pipe.
yeah.
you know?
Well, yeah, we were also isolated for so long that, I read a lot after Pat took his life, I read a lot about like human connection and
Yeah.
that kind of shit. And, that isolation, we're going to see results from that for so many fucking years.
Oh yeah.
Like that. One of the articles I read says the average human needs at least 7 hugs a day to keep their mental health. And I'm like, oh, I know it's fucking,
Jesus.
I know
That's a
it's wrong
lot. I
with
mean,
me.
That's a lot of hugs.
that's
Yeah.
49 hugs a week. And I
Mhm.
feel like I am below the line with that. Although I will say I do not mind hugging people. I think some people get a little bit like whatever. I'm very like I like spreading the love. Someone had said to me at one point, you know, and maybe this is like a little lame, but it's everyone always waits so long to tell people they love them, and then
Yeah.
they're not around and you wish you had said those things. So to me, and especially with my family, like, and I think maybe more so than other people, but like we were always very much like expressive now. God forbid it's the last time. I want to know that it was known while people were here the way I felt about them. So
See,
yeah,
we never were. It was
really.
yeah, we all just kind of always did our own thing. So like now, as I get older, I've buried so many fucking people. I'm like, well, fuck, man. I don't, I don't. I want people to know I fucking love
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Like you guys. Like I
Yeah.
fucking love
Yeah.
you guys.
Likewise.
Just because every time I see you guys, I always give you a fucking hug. We hang out, we bullshit, and I'm not the Punisher. So I let you
No,
guys go
no.
do your thing. Um,
I feel like we wouldn't be hanging out with you if you were punishing us all the time.
that
You would like, you probably wouldn't know, but there would be signs. Like,
that's fair. Yeah. Um,
um,
but even within with Dion and Brandon and Nate and everyone, it's like all the whole fucking it's become a community, and
yeah,
more than a community, right? We're like a big family. It's
Yeah. I
good
mean,
stuff.
honestly, I've said this before, but like I feel like that's if there's an accomplishment I can be really proud of, it's the fan base of this
Yeah,
band. Like
yeah,
with how dedicated you guys are, and then just like that family, like what you guys have amongst like amongst your guys selves, it's just amazing to me. Like that our band created this, web of just people coming together. I think that's just the coolest shit that I can brag
yeah,
about being in a band is like, my music was help bring these people together, create forge friendships. It might sound kind of cheesy, but it's the fucking truth. Like I see that as such like a big accomplishment to be proud of. That music brought people together. I think that's such a crucial thing because for me, that's what it did for me. It created a community for me. Like I finding where you fit in life and then finding music and then finding your people because of that. It's that's why I'm here and that's why I did the things I did. It's because of that. It wasn't just music, it was everything in it. Um so yeah, huge, powerful.
it really fucking is. I like
Yeah.
God, I've really got some fucking killer like memories of seeing the band. Like one of my favorites is the only time I've ever been to the whiskey is fucking seeing you guys with Death
That's
Angel and
awesome.
Revocation and 3 Inches of Blood and Diamond Plate. Like, man, that fucking bill was stacked. Of course, Brian wasn't there at that time.
I
Um,
made it back to the whiskey a couple times though. I love that club. That was a
yeah,
big. You're talking about memorable gigs. We did a sold out show at the whiskey on Halloween, and it was my second time there. And Hiran, you'll remember this because I was totally someone not. I won't even call the guy a punisher. He was just kind of a dick. Like, so we play the show, and what you have to know is Guar's TM sound guy was the guy that runs sound typically at the whiskey. So he knew my playing, he knew the band. I think he was really, really into Battlecross because we really tried to be cool on the Guar tour, and I think they enjoyed having us. I thought we were professional, the whole thing. So he knew what was up. So he liked us. So I'm at the merch table at the end of the show, and some guy comes over and starts talking to me about Battlecross, and I'm just chatting with him, being a fan, and he's like, "Wait a minute," he's like, "You're the drummer?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, you're just a drummer," and then he just literally in the middle of a conversation just fucked off and walked away, and I was like, just mugged me right off, dude, and I'm like,
Wow.
okay, fucking awesome. Like, what a dick. And now I feel terrific about myself. So I'm like, okay. So literally, I'm a little bit like taken aback by that because, like, how were you supposed to process that, right? Like, whatever, kind of fuck him, but whatever. I still, feel great about it. So I'm walking away to go get a drink or something. And Eddie stopped me and he was like, dude, he's like, fucking drums were killer tonight, or he had something really, really nice to say about the band, and we sounded great, loves mixing us. I think he said something to the effect of like, you make it really easy to mix, like you play great. And I'm like, there you go. A compliment from someone that like it, not that it didn't matter, but
that
it was like
knows.
he knows, and this is the guy that if I was going to get a compliment from anyone in this building, it's that guy. And from what I recall, like the praise is not always like it was hard earned, you know. Not someone I feel like that doled out a lot of compliments. So I was fortunate enough to get one at that moment. So I was like, you know what, fuck that guy. Like, you know what? Like, what do you do? You're just a drummer. Like, whatever.
Like,
This guy likes me, so whatever.
like,
Well,
yeah.
it's
Go
That
ahead,
was a
Huron.
memorable one for me.
it's those LA guys, I think it's just to them it's who, who's the hot shit that they gotta fucking suck their dick for. So
Do you
I don't know.
remember actually
It just
at
seems like
that
the
show?
attitude over there.
Yeah, I don't. Out of all of my time in California, I think if I was going to move anywhere in that state, it would certainly not be LA.
Not the LA.
Um,
No.
No,
No
I
offense
mean,
especially
to anyone
not
that
now.
lives in
It
LA, but fuck,
smells like
dude.
piss and shit now.
It's
I was just so bummed about some of the that's look, I think we've sort of established it throughout the, conversation, but like there's definite fringe benefits to the living this lifestyle or things like that, right? So like you get to see a lot of places, Drumheller or New Orleans, all these wonderful places, things, Japan, whatever. And but then you go to some other places that you're really stoked on going to, and it just kind of falls short of what you were hoping it would be, and I remember, not to kind of talk ill of any one particular city, because they do have their good points and stuff, but
sure, yeah.
I was so excited when we were finally going to go to San Francisco. And my mom's like a huge Grateful Dead fan, and that was a huge part of the counterculture movement, Haight Ashbury, the whole thing. It's like all what that was like the big spot in the 60s. And I'm so interested in that music and that whole sort of event, beat poetry, all that. So it was so cool to go. And I just remember going and be like, it's a shithole. Like it's just not well maintained. The crime was not great. I'm not going to get into specifics, but like if you were there, obviously, Haran, like we get out of the alleyway and there's just all these like vagrants doing all sorts of stuff, and it's just like it's not what you expected. I
Yeah.
guess, and it sort of fell short. And I remember that being such a bummer. But then other times, cities that you don't expect to be really rad wind up being awesome, like Des Moines, Iowa. Like not a lot going on in Des Moines besides Slipknot and you know Slipknot. So
That's not true. They have corn.
there's corn and they have a small little place that Haran, I remember very much said I was gonna like, that I fell in love with, called Zombie Burger. And Zombie Burger is one of the best burgers I've ever eaten. So basically the point I'll make about shows like that is that there's nothing else really going on there. So like the tendency is a lot of people come out to the show and they throw down, dude. And I remember some of those shows that we played in like those areas that you thought would be really scarce of people wound up being like the whole town's there and everyone's rocking out. And then he took me to Zombie Burger and they had my perfect burger, goat cheese, prosciutto, very good beef. It was fantastic. And we were on tour with a band called Feeder the Sharks, these Australian guys, and they were completely like minds melted that I ordered the burger and it came out and it's like really good Iowa beef, like it's very good. And it was so good that I ordered an exact duplicate of the same burger after I finished the one I just ate, and then ate that entire burger in less time than everyone in that band had finished one burger. And they were really perplexed by that. So, but it was so good. I had to order another one, dude. And I don't regret it to this day. I wish I ordered a third one. I wish I could FedEx one to me right now.
I bet you could.
You probably could.
Oh,
I don't burgers don't travel well. We had this conversation the other day, man. Like some stuff travels well. Like you can't get a burger to go.
Yeah.
Not the
Yeah,
same
it's hard.
experience.
No.
A
No,
Reuben,
Doesn't taste
though,
the same.
like a
Mm.
Reuben you can heat up. There was a point in time for tour stories that 9 different states, I had 9 different Reubens in 9 days. That was a personal goal for me.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I never skimped on the eating on tour. I was very much a bit like, again, fringe benefits. Like you're in a lot of, even if you're trying to connect to culture in a lot of places, I feel like the food is such a good direct route to it, right? Like
Oh yeah.
there's no place like New Orleans with food and the stuff they eat there. But I felt very much about, places in Arkansas for barbecue, or places in Kentucky for barbecue, Texas for like the Tex-Mex stuff, Texas especially. I mean, let's just say this, like I don't even need all that barbecue. Just bring me to Buc-ee's. Like, dude, I can eat that shit for days. I could get lost in that store for like 3 days. It's amazing.
Oh, you don't even have to go to Texas anymore. There's one here in Kentucky.
Is there a Buc-ee's in Kentucky?
Yeah.
That seems weird.
Oh, it's fucking weird.
Same mascot and everything?
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's the same Buc-ee's.
It's the same company.
Do they have some sort of like, are they trying to make it like Kentucky themed at all? Like, is there just like straight mash bourbon? like or what? Like
I've only
Buc-ee's?
been in there once, but they've got their fucking little restaurant in the middle of the store where they're serving barbecue, and
Oh,
like they got your dude they got Bucky running around.
they
You
have a
take-
Buc-ee mascot.
Yeah.
I've not seen that. I do
Yeah.
still have my Buc-ee's bottle opener, though, I will say.
Fuck.
Randomly, I will see like I feel like there was at least two people that I saw recently that had Bucky gear on, like a shirt or something, and I was like, "Nice shirt."
I always feel like I'm in the
Buc-ee's.
club. Yeah, like not everyone knows that. Like we're
it's like
Now everyone fucking knows. Like Bucky's is the
True.
it's
thing.
like a cool thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We took the kids. We went around the country this summer, like
Right
out to
on.
California and back. And our last stop was in Texas. We stopped in Amarillo though.
Ah,
And I was like, oh, let's find a Bucky's, right?
Yeah.
We're in fucking Texas. 1,025 miles to the nearest Bucky's.
Jesus.
I was like, I guess we're not going there.
and you know what's messed up? That 1,000 miles away in Texas is like 7% of Texas.
I know.
Texas is one of the only places that I remember waking up in the state, driving all day, falling asleep while still driving, and waking up, not stopping driving, and we were still in Texas.
Yeah.
Man.
That was actually, if this is like story time, one of my more brilliant, and Hiran, I would be shocked if you don't remember this. We went and we were playing in McClellan, Texas, I think, and it was like way down. And if you remember correctly, we had the van and we were taking it through all this like tall savanna grass, and like the thing got riddled with bugs. We wind up stopping at some random gas station, literally the first one we'd seen in like what seemed like forever miles, right? And we go in and it's this like family owned joint, and it just smells so good. They're cooking this whole thing. And it was like one of those things where like the mom or the grandmother was just like homemaking tamales. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, like I gotta get me some of that. So I buy them or whatever. And I just didn't realize that, like, oh, like, cool. So I just, I get to the van, I take it out, I'm just gnawing on this thing, and I'm like, everyone's watching me, and I don't know why. And I'm like really struggling to like eat this fucking thing. And I'm like, I don't like, why is this good? Why would a whole culture of people do this? This seems so difficult to eat. And I ate them. And then at the very end, after I'd eaten like 3 or 4 of them, one of you told me that you weren't supposed to eat the corn husk.
Remove the husk.
Yeah. And they let me just blast like 3 of them in the van, dude. And I just wild feral animal, like just was like ripping hunks of this shit off. And you guys were like just so cool, calm, and collected. It wasn't like anyone even broke. They just let it happen. And I think it was Don that was just like, yeah, you're not supposed to eat the corn husk. And I'm just sitting there then thinking about the fact that I just force fed myself 3 husks, I was like, oh God, like you guys probably had an absolute field day with that one.
That's hilarious.
Fuck yeah. That's hilarious. So speaking of good tamales, Nadev Martinez in Flint. Fuck, dude. Every time I go to Michigan, I'm like, hey, dude, hook me up. All right.
Nice. He makes them, or someone in his family make them?
I think he makes them, and they are fucking delicious, dude.
Good authentic cooking like that.
I love tamales.
Yeah.
You got to take the husk off.
You gotta eat the husk. I mean, unless you're bold.
I was too bold. I wasn't trying to be bold.
Sometimes you're just hungry and you just go for it.
So had you never eaten tamales before, Brian?
I have not, surprisingly, which I am very proud of the fact that I am a very adventurous eater and I will try most things. There are not a lot of foods that I will not try at least once, unless there's olives in it. I fucking hate olives, so I can't do like dirty
Yeah,
martinis or anything like that.
I
It's the
can't
most like
believe that.
sacrilegious Italian thing about me, right? Like I can't do olives, right? But like a lot of other stuff I will try, even if I'm not whatever, you know, maybe I don't like it, I won't try it again. But no, I had not had tamales up till that point. But even still, it's just like, are you an idiot? Like, shouldn't it have been obvious after you spent 20 minutes just gnawing on the first one that you're like, oh, better eat another 2 of these? Like, idiot, like a schmuck. I'm a schmuck.
Ah, what,
What a
dude?
schmohawk.
Yeah.
If I think most people growing up in our culture, if they don't have someone to guide them, they do the same fucking thing, eat the husk, right? Like,
I know,
no,
but it's like you don't fucking eat. You don't eat the paper when they give you a burger that's like half wrapped in paper. You know, it's like
I
it
don't know.
makes sense to take it off.
I know people that have.
I mean, I feel like it was almost just like it felt very much like they watched me eat the banana with
Like
the
the
peel.
husk looks like paper. Like it's a husk. So I mean, I could see how
No,
if
I
you've never
know.
had a tamale before, you would.
But I guess the
I
thing
could
is,
see how
at
you could
that
mistake
point,
them.
I'm like 26, 27 years old. Like I lived life. Like it should have been
Obviously not
barely,
enough.
apparently not as much as I thought I did, right? But yeah, so that was
That day you learned about life.
I learned, yeah, about
You
life
learned a lot
and
about life.
unrelenting perpetual embarrassment that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. Oh
Oh,
God.
how fucking awesome.
I do miss the food though. That was one
Oh
huge
man,
fringe benefit,
food
man.
was
All right,
some of the
so we
best
need
parts of
another.
touring.
I'm hearing another Battlecross tour in the works.
We're only gonna go to major food stops though.
Oh,
Yeah, major food stops.
that's fine.
Yeah.
You got to come to Louisville. I'm good with that.
Dude, I feel like Louisville always has good shit.
Yeah. So I think for like the last 5 years, we've ranked in the top 10 foodie destinations in the world.
Oh yeah, nice.
You guys ever had a kangaroo burger?
No, but go
No.
on.
Oh, dude, best burger I've ever eaten in my whole fucking life.
Is it legitimately made out
Really?
of kangaroo?
Yes, it is.
Oh shit. I didn't know if that was like a thing because it's like, oh, it has like 2 eggs on it. Kangaroo burger.
No, it's legit like a fucking kangaroo
Like an
burger.
actual kangaroo.
So they serve kangaroo, yak,
I've
bison,
had
all kinds of shit.
I've had both of those. I've
Nice.
had ostrich, and I think
Ooh.
probably the most exotic like meat that way. I think we actually you might have been with us, Hiran. Like I think me and Gumby got into like some jerky place on the road and they had all sorts of like weird shit.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
I think we got like
There's a jerky
alligator or
outlet.
something.
The
Yeah.
jerky outlet. Yeah,
I just
they
remember
have,
looking at it though, and I'm like, I don't really want to eat raven jerky though. It was like some stuff where it's like
crow eggs.
yeah, it's like where are you manifesting this stuff from? Like do you have like a raven farm that's very Edgar Allan Poe of you? Like
All right.
Fighting off.
I'm gonna ask you
sorry,
guys
yeah.
kind of on back on track.
Sure.
Because I could talk food all night.
Yeah, same.
Have you guys like opened the vinyl and seen the records?
Um I have not, and it has not been any sort of reactionary bias against them or anything like that. I probably over the course of the last 2 years have gone very deep into vinyl collecting, and I haven't before. So I have kind of records that I get, and I will try to listen to them chronologically in order of purchase. So the Battlecross records are in the queue, but I have not opened them yet.
I cannot listen to mine chronologically, like not in order that I fucking get them. Like I feel like I had 10 records that showed up on my doorstep this week. I'm like, fuck.
I know. I got Seasons in the Abyss on vinyl, and I was just kind of like,
Ooh.
fuck, like I gotta listen to that one. Well, it was funny because I was bitching so much about it that you obviously know Tony Torino, Ron.
So do
He got
I.
me a copy for Christmas, and Megan got me a copy.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
they're gorgeous. I love the colored vinyl.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw people like people that had taken pictures of it, and they look awesome. But yeah, I haven't opened mine because I'm just like half like don't want to and just want to hang them
Yeah,
up and not
pristine.
open them.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But I do kind of want to listen to them. But I don't know. I'm weird about. I don't really listen to our stuff unless I have to play it. So
No, but I think your
that's
relationship
just how I
to it
am.
is different. Yeah.
But I mean, it's like I kind of wanted to hear the vinyl version of it, you know. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm just kind of like, I just want to leave them as is and hang
Dude,
out.
I
So,
can't tell you how excited I was that they came out on vinyl, because
oh man,
I've wanted
me and
that
you
for
both,
so fucking
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
dude.
Like,
Same.
Highly
Like
requested at merch.
it was
yeah,
actually funny because I was actually talking to Shannon like a while prior to that, and he was like talking about his collection because he has all like the vinyl that he played drums on, and he's like, but man, I want like he's like, I know there's a picture disc, but he's like, I want like a real release of War Will.
yeah,
And I was like, yeah, it'd be cool, you know, if like somebody maybe a Euro label or something will pick it up someday and it'll happen. And then lo and behold, that label, like all that was happening like out of nowhere, you know, Backbreaker Records. So I thought that was just so cool that it worked out. It was legit. There was like
Yeah,
no
it was
bullshit
legit.
behind it, you
Yeah.
know, like because like I label and like wanted to make sure like because mostly it was just I mean it really was just so like I didn't want the fans to get like ripped off. So I was
Right,
like,
right.
hey
yeah.
man, like, can you just get me a copy of like
Mm.
some correspondence with the label, like just some sort of proof,
Is
just
that
because I needed to feel like
Ooh.
warm and fuzzies of like,
Yeah.
hey, like
Yeah.
this is the thing, you know. So they were super cool about it. He was totally awesome about, you know, yeah, let me get you the paperwork, all that stuff. So they were awesome about it. And just the fact that they did it, like no other label, you know, that they were willing to do that and
Right.
give it such an awesome release,
Yeah.
like how the vinyl looked and the artwork and all that. It was just that was so cool of them.
Oh,
So
I absolutely agree. The fucking vinyls are gorgeous. Um, we're actually somewhere in this episode, I'm gonna cut in something and I'm gonna give away a set of those vinyl to someone.
Nice.
nice, fuck yeah, that's awesome.
So I think, I'm a like you guys, right? I'm a vinyl collector. I don't know. I don't even know how many I have right now, but I look at this fucking tower of records over here. I just got a new record player, so I've been like
It's a good
stuck in,
feeling. It's a good
yeah.
feeling.
Well,
Nice.
it broke like a month ago, and I'm like, motherfucker.
Oh
Like,
man.
Yeah.
so I ordered one. It finally came. I set it up, and it took me about 3 hours to get the weights all right and all
Oh god,
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
and shit.
Oh my God.
Now I'm like every night put on a fucking couple of records, jam out.
Dude, it's like the best thing though, because I even feel like you ingest it so much differently because you have to. And there's so much stuff that, you maybe wouldn't have gotten to hear otherwise that, you don't know. And I think it's just such a complete way to take in you know, I think especially back with older stuff, like a period of time, some of those records, like Zeppelin 4 at this particular time this is what they sounded like, and some of that stuff to me just being so analog and recorded, some of it just live was just so ridiculous, but I've definitely found like a lot of cool stuff, like we'll throw on a record when I'm cooking and, stuff like that, like in the night, glass of wine or whatever, and it's been really dope. Um, Certain things less cool. Like I've noticed if you get like a real shit record, like I will force myself to finish it, but it's like not going to be playing that
Probably
Neil
won't
Young
listen
record
to
a
that
lot
for
no
a
more.
while. One of my
But
favorite records to listen to is like early Nirvana. I say super early Nirvana, but like first, second pressing Bleach,
mm,
because that
mm,
was still unmastered,
mhm.
right? You have all the flaws in it. You can hear it. Like that's how I found that band. So I'm like,
nice.
if I feel like being a little torturous to myself, I'll fucking put it on and like
Yeah.
and listen. But I
I
fucking
yeah, I feel like with records I have like a different appreciation for other kinds of music.
Yeah.
So I find that when I listen to vinyl, I like listening to stuff really that's not even really metal. I love listening to movie soundtracks and
Mm,
scores.
mhm.
Because I feel like you said, Brian, like you just sit there and take in the music, and I feel like those other kinds of music listening to like that style or whatever, even if it's like old rock records, just
Yeah.
listening to that and taking in like, I don't know. I find myself listening to more of that. Like I will gravitate towards other kinds of music and really not much metal at all
Yeah.
when it comes. I mean, even though I do have an extensive metal collection, like I honestly don't listen to it that much because
Yeah.
I'm listening to the other stuff. Um, so I'm just here. I am knocking on metal vinyl records, talking
I
about our record, and I'm like,
yeah.
I don't
Ah,
listen to
I
fuck
got
metal,
him.
I don't.
I didn't even open them.
Oh
They're
man.
on a
No, I
shelf
don't. And
somewhere.
But
there's
it's
there's definitely
different.
metal records like I'll listen to. Like there are certain metal records I like bought. Like even though like I had it on CD, I was like I have to. I want to buy this record on vinyl because it means something,
Yeah.
to have it. So,
Yeah. Emperor
uh,
Sand for me on that one, dude.
Mm.
oh
That's a
dude, yeah,
great
dude,
vinyl.
a lot of the dude. I just got Crack the
Crack the
Sky. That's a
Sky.
great
That's a
album to
great
listen
one.
to.
Have you
The
guys listened
Hunter.
to Live at Brixton?
Sorry.
Uh
No, I
no.
don't think so.
So I've got that on fucking vinyl. It's Mastodon Live at Brixton, and holy
Oh, Live at
fuck.
Brick. I thought you said a name, Irving Brixton. I'm like, I don't
Oh
know who
no.
that is. Live at Brixton, I have heard. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Fucking sounds
Um,
so good on vinyl.
they were on the boat, and let me tell you, man, that fucking band rules. It really, my appreciation for them grows every single time I get to see them because I just feel like if I was gonna be in a band that like is the same kind of thing. I feel like you know what I mean? Like uncompromising. They sound like themselves. And I feel
Yeah,
like fans went with them. And I love the fact that fans with them, me being one of them, like it's okay to follow them when they experiment and maybe Crack the Sky is a completely different record than, Emperor Sand. And it definitely is vibe wise.
totally.
But I think both of them are so good. And I
They,
feel like yeah, that's a
dude,
great band.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No, no, no,
off.
no, no, you're fine.
Just to get on this Mastodon train because I
Yeah,
fucking love Mastodon,
yeah,
but they continually like will put out albums where I'm like, okay, let's see what they do on this one, and listen, and they pull me in, and it's like by the second, third listen, I'm like hooked. I'm like, it becomes my
yeah,
favorite record. Like each
Yeah.
yeah.
new record they put out becomes like a record I'm listening to over and over, and it's
You
just
know,
like
one of
I
the
don't know.
one of the best tours last year was the Mastodon Gojira Lorna Shore
Oh,
tour.
yeah.
Nice.
I missed
Like,
it.
holy fuck.
Love me
Obviously,
some Gojira though, baby.
oh dude.
Oh, Mario's. Who?
Dude, they're like they're just off time. They've got these weird time signatures, and the way they fucking play, it's so fucking powerful. And to get that all under one roof.
I feel like you can't have a song called "The Heaviest Matter in the Universe" and then play like a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying. But no, I think one thing with that band, like, and again, it's interesting to me how sometimes this just occurs that there's that brother bond in the band. And I feel like it's got to be something with there's like an intrinsic thing there where they've had so much time to collaborate together over the period of time where that happens, that there's just this extra thing there or sixth sense or something. I don't know. But like, same with Van Halen, right? Like, it just that was such a unique thing. Diamond Vinny, same sort of thing,
Yeah.
right? And it's just like there's those kind of interlocking things I think are almost sublime in a sense because it's like you can't just catch lightning in a bottle like that all the time.
Right.
And I feel like with Gojira specifically, they're one of the better newer bands. I feel like that's been around. I don't know. I mean, they've been around a while now. I shouldn't say they're new, but from the new school of stuff, let's say.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't know. I saw them when they were out with Slipknot, I think, a couple years back, and Jay Weinberg was still in Slipknot at that point or whatever. So that's kind of when it was. But I was blown away, dude. I got to see him side stage, and I was just like I knew they were good, but they're really good. Like they're really good live, and that for me just is so important. Anyone can do anything on the record. If you can pull it off live and it sounds like that to me is always more impressive.
Well, and
Yeah.
that's the thing, right? It's like I could really like a band on record, but if I go see them live and they suck, I'm like,
Stuff.
okay, I can't really go back and listen to the record and go, oh man, that record is still so good. I'm like, there's too much studio magic to me at that point. And
Yeah.
I'll give them 2 or 3 times of seeing them live because maybe you had an off show.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Like,
and that does happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's true. That does happen for sure. But I get it, you know. Really, I mean, because if you can't deliver live, it's kind of like, I don't know, it takes a wind out of like a band, I think. It's just like, just to, especially when it's meant for something live, like when you're
Yeah.
doing a style that is very impactful. Like, I get maybe some bands just don't work well in a live setting or something. I don't know, depending on the style that you're doing. But when it comes to metal and rock, like, I mean, it's, there's got to be some that impact live that pulls you in.
yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a very live type of music, you know what I mean? So I get that.
for sure. You guys were always, every time I saw you guys, it was always, you were always super tight. And I was always impressed. And I'll tell you, the first time I saw you, uh, you were with God Forbid, just come off of Trespass America. You guys were playing Phoenix Hill, and you fucking rocked it. And you finished with it was fucking hostile. And I just was like, I was blown away. And then
I remember that show.
I
Yeah.
talked to you guys after the set, and Tony's like, "Yeah, we're from Detroit," and I'm like, "Right in Detroit?" He goes, "No, Canton," and I was like, "Holy fuck!" I went to East, and it was just so funny to have that. I was like, "Okay, instant fucking forever fan right there."
Oh man.
Uh,
Thanks, dude. Yeah, I mean, that's there's anything that you gotta nail down is a live set, and that to us was super important,
yeah.
being very tight. So,
I also feel like it's like one
yeah.
of those things too, where you gotta say, right? Like, I am a musician first, but I'm a fan of music probably before that. So maybe I'm a musician second and a fan of music first for those keeping
Yeah,
Yeah.
track. But, it's like the bands I loved going to see, or, and I think the stuff I listened to a lot growing up was pretty diverse. So I went and saw a lot of jazz cats and, still metal guys and, big Rush fan, obviously, and bands like that, The Dead, from my mom. And it's like, there's different kinds of live performance. The Dead having a great show is not the same thing as, Slayer having a great show. It's a
no,
different kind of thing you're aiming for. But I still feel like, to me, the bands that were always the most enticing were the ones that, with whatever live show they were trying to put on, were very serious about the show, and I could even say, as like a kind of interesting example, like, not a huge Dave Matthews fan. I love Carter, all that stuff, but like, I would put it up against a lot of professional bands to go out and play a better live show. I mean, they're just so good at being a live band, and that's
come
what made me.
on,
No, I mean,
no. Like, so
I
I'll tell you, I am not a fucking Dave fan either.
no,
And
I mean,
Jen loves Dave, so he's playing Bourbon and Beyond this year,
yeah.
and I'm like, this is probably the only time you'll
Is
ever
it
get me to
just
go.
him or is it the Dave Matthews Band?
It's
It's
the
a
band.
difference. So I'll say this, like, early Dave Matthews, Under the Table, Crash, that era stuff, very, very good. Like, you really, like, even as just a musician standpoint, I think the thing is with him, it's like you don't love the voice all the time. And I think it's almost like Rush for a lot of people, where it's like you make the music's great, but it's hard to get past his voice for some people. I personally really like it. Same with Smashing Pumpkins. Like, not a lot of people are into Billy Corgan's voice. I love Jimmy Chamberlain and the band and the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
For Dave, obviously Carter is just such a good drummer, and I thought what they were doing was so good, but again, a band where I felt like the music was okay, but then I saw them play live and it was just a complete different energy entirely. So tight for being so non-scripted. Like, they just know, right? Like, and me being a jazz guy when I was coming up, like, improv's so difficult to do sometimes, especially to make it sound not shitty. And they're so good at understanding music and the kind of what's going on between the players in that machine that it's so difficult to pull off some of the stuff they do as tight as they do it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So to me, I like them a lot more after I saw them live a couple times. And obviously where I'm at in New York, they play Saratoga Springs every single year for like 2 nights. So
Yeah.
and I'll say this, I was very fortunate that I had good parents. So I went to a lot of shows with them and stuff like that. So my dad used to take me to that stuff all the time. But
Well,
um,
so like again, I'm not a fan of Dave Matthews Band. If him and Tim Reynolds put on a set though, I would
will you go?
fucking 100%.
Tim Reynolds is great. Great
Dude,
addition to that.
one of my favorite live albums to listen to, one of is Dave Matthews and Tim Reynolds. Like, holy fuck,
Yeah.
God, I probably listened to that album, one of those
Strange
albums.
in a different context though, right? How
Yeah,
and that's why I was like, because if it's him alone, sometimes like that stuff to me is difficult, whereas other solo acoustic guys, like take like Noel Gallagher from Oasis, I could listen to him solo forever. Like I think it's fantastic. But Dave can get on my I get over it real quick. Carter for
yeah,
me was really the big part of that band. But um the point being to bring it back around was that it's I was always so captivated by the incredible live show. So when it came time for me to put on my own show, it was always that. I never felt like I wanted to do less than my best. And I felt like, especially if people are paying to come see me do my thing, I don't feel like it's fair that these people that are spending money on a ticket should have me go up there half in the bag, or I didn't
right.
practice, or, any of that. Like, and I remember Don saying this at one point to me at some point throughout the years that, we were having, if it was me and Don, we probably had a couple and we were just, pillow talking in the van or something, right? Like, but he was making the point that, he had measured a lot of his pride professionally on what he was able to accomplish on stage. And that was kind of something that people who do this and choose this vocation, like that's what you commit to is, you are only as good as your last show and things like that. Unfortunately, when you're touring, you play a lot, you get time to hone that skill, but you always get a second chance usually, you know what I mean? um but I think the thing is, it's we were always so emphasis on the music, emphasis on the live show, that I think for all of us was always what we felt like would sustain the band. Even if we came out with a great record and maybe come out with another hopefully great record with a cool drummer on it, like I think the thing is, it would still more than likely translate better live than it would sound on the record, even if the record's a good sounding record. I think
I,
that's just the nature of what we do.
I think that's a lot of metal is like
Hmm.
that too, right? Like the live show, to me, the live show 90% of the time transcends what that
Hmm.
album is,
Hmm.
so it's like,
Different energy, and it
yeah.
really is. Um, but yeah, uh, I'm trying to think. This is
Oh shit, we lost Huron.
oh no, he
his
hates us
his phone died.
or something, right?
He was like, "Oh
Uh,
fuck."
he's like, oh, they're talking about Dave Matthews again. I
Yeah,
gotta go.
fuck
I
those
fucking hate
guys.
Dave Matthews. No, actually, speaking of live albums, this is an interesting thing. So obviously Shads was playing the 20th anniversary thing. Um, not this weekend, but the previous one. And Jay had asked if he could use my, drum sampler. And he was just putting some intros for the songs and all that stuff on or whatever. And he was like, oh, dude. He's like, do you have Speak of the Devil by Ozzy? And I'm like, I don't. And I didn't realize, like, I don't have it on vinyl. You can't buy it on CD. I obviously knew the record, but I hadn't listened to it in years. And actually, between the two big live ones, I had always sort of listened to the Randy Rhoads tribute instead of Speak of the Devil.
Yeah.
And so he throws some sample on there or whatever. It's just Ozzy crowd banter or something, right? And it's hilarious. It goes off great at the shows. But I went back and I listened to the record, and I was just kind of like, this is great. Like, this is prime, like, good. Like, Tommy Aldridge on drums, just absolutely crushing it. I think it was Brad Gillis on guitar. Like, just so good. So good. So I mean, even live albums, I feel like now some of them are kind of shitty. And
Yeah.
that's one that came out, what, in like 82, 83? Sounds fantastic.
Well, but we look at that and we look back at a lot of the bands from 60s, 70s, 80s, right? Like a lot of that music even today still sounds fucking fantastic because it was a very different time.
Mhm.
Accessibility to studios wasn't as easy as
Agreed.
it is now. And you couldn't go in there for 6 months at a time and really nail down this song and make sure it was perfect. You had to be really good at what you were fucking doing,
Yeah.
you know?
I also feel like too, it's so easy to record shit now that there's not a deep vetting process. Like to your point that you had to be the best to go to the studio because like you had to
Yeah.
be better than everyone else. Um Now it's just like, someone can write a song, a rap song about ducks on an iPad in a van and release it. And it's not half bad, but it's still just, it's not that good, you know?
Right.
And I think you put it out there. So I feel like it kind of takes away from the very good and sort of pulls everyone to kind of the center of just everyone's okay, and then you do have your standouts, obviously, things like that. But I think just the way to create stuff now has become so much easier and more streamlined that anyone can do it. So you don't have to be as skilled in order to produce those things like you used to.
Right. No, but when you are skilled, it really
Yeah.
stands out, and that's, I'm grateful for that shit because man, when it fucking gives you goosebumps, you're like, all right, this is real. These guys know what the hell's going on.
That's how I feel about Dave Matthews.
Full circle, right back. Oh
But
fuck.
I know what you mean, and there's definitely moments for me, that I've been at shows where you're just kind of like, it's a very surreal thing, and like I was saying, like me and my dad were like concert buddies my whole life, so we've seen a ton of people together, and obviously he was like a huge Rush head, but it was just always so crazy to me, and it happens with other bands too, where it's like you're taking in the show's great, you're kind of looking at the crowd, you're looking at the band, you're looking at the whole moment, kind of, 360, and I just always still find it incredible if you're in the room with like a great band that it's you yourself are in the room with these guys or girls doing their thing and it's happening in real time. And I still mind blowing. Like it was so mind blowing to me that I was in the room with those three dudes in Rush, or I got to go see Cream at Madison Square Garden, like the original lineup, Eric Clapton, Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker. So like that was fucking insane. But I was really, it still blows my mind the way it did when I was 16, so I think that's the power of live performance too, is that it
100%.
transcends, right? Like, and it's things that, you know I'll never get tired of seeing a good live band, if that makes sense, even if it's
Oh,
not the same band.
absolutely. I will never, I'm never tired of a good live show.
Yeah, never.
I'm
Even if
always,
it's different bands having a different live show. But I mean, like I said, there's definitely bands that I've seen more than a couple times that like it's good every time. It's
yeah.
good every time, you know?
Yeah. I mean, for me, Battlecross is one of those bands. Like,
Oh,
and
pshaw.
and I really don't even know how many times I've seen the band. I've got to be 30 plus times at this
Nate White
point.
would have an exact number.
He's at like 60,
It's
60
a lot. It's
shows. Yeah.
excessive. I saw that flag.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ah,
crazy.
fuck wild.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny with the shows, like you'd start the tour and the first few shows are a little rough, but like by the middle of it, you're just it's insane how who would have thought that playing so many times a day would make you really tight. But
Yeah, you get good. You get
I
really
mean,
good.
it's just crazy.
The
Like
same 8 songs.
when you yeah, right. It's the same songs, but it's funny because like by the end of a tour, you're just so on fire. It's like I don't know. It's getting up on that stage was like it becomes second nature when you're like that deep in,
Yeah.
and then
You just go to work.
yeah,
But I'm not taking it for granted when I'm on stage, though. I will say that. And I think a lot of people, not so much that we toured with, but I know other musicians where I feel like it still feels like work a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I felt like yeah, it feels like work sometimes. You're doing it for fucking 3 months, in 4 cycles throughout the year. But at the same time, I always felt like I always enjoyed playing.
Same. The
Like I
show was
always
always
enjoyed
the
the
best
show.
part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hanging with
Well,
you guys was
yeah.
okay. Go
No, I
though.
mean, I don't want to say the best part, but yeah, you're right. Like, I think a gig was like never, no matter like whatever shit was going on, like the
Yeah.
show was always still fun. And I think for me, I really loved playing in front of like a new, like it didn't matter like how many times you played a place or like, because most of the time you're always playing in front of at least a few new people.
Yeah.
And I love that. I
Yeah.
loved seeing the reaction of new faces to like, what are they gonna think of this? Just it was just fun to me. Like I love to see like what you could do with the crowd. Like,
Yeah.
Depending on whatever show it was, it's just like, let's see, can we turn these guys around? Do you think can we get them? You think we're gonna get them? What
Sometimes
song
you're
is it that's going to
successful.
pull them in? It's just like, I don't know. I thought that was always, even though I'm missing the moment, like, I think those are things I backtrack on, like, and remember, like, what was the reaction? Like, and where can you see the point of like, where they're like, oh, I'm into this, like where you can see somebody either where it's the moment people start walking up front or they, where you start to see the crowd change. I think it's cool to like,
I really love those moments. See a band get on stage and everyone's just kind of off mingling
Pouring
and
in. Yeah.
the band's playing and all of a sudden everyone just,
yeah, everyone's like, oh, what's going on here?
yeah, we
And
got to go check this out. And
yeah,
you know, that Phoenix Hill show was for me, it was like that, like, oh, who's this? Like, cool. We'll kind of stand here and watch and you guys fucking hit it. Okay, we got to get close and bang our fucking heads because this is damn good.
yeah, it's cool to see I don't know, just to see what your music does to people, like it's, how it makes you feel, and then to just see people get pulled into it. I don't know, that doesn't get old to me, to be able to play music and see people react to it and just that way or whatever. I mean, really, whatever way. I mean, I think if people just stood there like this and looked bored, you're obviously going to have a different feeling of like how you felt like that show went. But,
Sure.
it's just, to me, there's always just a mystery of like, what's going to happen this time we play,
Yeah. And then
So,
sometimes things go really good and you reel them in. And I feel
yeah,
like I felt like, and I feel pretty confident saying this, we reeled them in a lot more than we didn't. And I think
I agree.
sometimes for
Yeah.
other bands that we had been out with, depending on the medium or what their vibe was, like some of them struggled with that. And some of it is, not to say that, or to diminish, but I think some of the tour packages we had been on, there were one or two bands that stick out without naming names that like they were a good band, but it wasn't the right bill.
Yeah.
So it's kind of odd when it's you got, 4 A's and then one random B on the tour, and they just don't seem to hit as well. But I felt like for us, at least in my tenure so far, that like we were always really good at getting the crowd there.
Yeah.
I can't remember a lot of nights, even when it wasn't maybe the most well attended, right? We obviously, it's circumstance of the job. You play Mondays and Tuesdays, and they're just not as
Yeah.
well attended most of the time. It's almost like a really good restaurant. If you're a good band if you get people coming out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Friday, Saturday's a given. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But even those shows where maybe they weren't as well attended or it was not maybe an A market that night or something, like I still felt like we always tried to, give the crowd our best, and I think that was one thing
Absolutely.
that um I can say very confidently that there was not one night that I got out there. There were nights I didn't play as well as other nights for sure, but it was never the intention. And it was always, and I mean, Hiran can attest to this too. I mean, like, I had a very ritualistic warm up for 40 minutes before the show, almost every single show, and I feel like if I didn't care, I wouldn't be doing that. Ironically enough, when you said you interviewed Jimmy Bauer, I can remember Jimmy Bauer at Harpo's just walking into the dressing room and kind of taking the sticks out of my hand. He's like, "Do you really need to warm up that much, kid?" Like, or something like that. Like, just absolutely lambasted me. And of course, like all the super joints there, Blue, their drummers there, and he's fucking dying. Um, but no, I mean, it was it was, as I said before, I feel like the musicianship in this band was always at the forefront of what we were trying to accomplish, whether it was the live show, the writing, the, whatever. Um, but I think it was always with the slant that, we wanted to give the best live performance. And I mean, I know for me, you know, I love all the bands we toured with, and I'm friends with all of them. On stage, I wanted to kick your ass. I don't give a shit if it's Super Joint. I don't care if it's Child Bite, the headliner, the not, whatever. Like, I wanted to go out and I wanted to be the best band that played that night. And then when we're off stage, we're fine. But that was the attitude that, I kind of went. And it was not, friendly competitive, not like, fuck these guys, we're better, it wasn't that.
Right.
But, it's stuff to motivate you to play well, to get you going to play the best show. And that was always my attitude, was like, I want to kick everyone's ass. And I know we can. I knew all the pieces were there to do it. And I think a lot of nights, better or worse, we did. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there a band that you guys toured with that was just like fucking out of this world for you every night? Like, I never thought I'd be playing with this band.
in a good way, like, oh
Yeah.
shit, like this is rad, or
Yes, in a good way.
because there were some where I'm like, oh, I can't believe we got to do this shit for 3 months. uh
I don't want to talk about them. I
no,
want to
no,
talk
no, no,
about the
no.
good ones.
I would say, I mean, look, and I think Hiran would probably agree with this. Like, Super Joint for me was pretty cool. Obviously, touring with Phil and getting to meet those guys and hear some of those war stories, like
Yeah.
he's the OG, right? Like,
I
he's the
mean,
guy. So
the
that's
fact that, yeah, I mean, just to open for one of Phil's bands, I mean, that was insane to me, like being such a fan myself of him and like his other bands as well. Like I was a Super Joint fan, well before we went on tour with them. So it just that to have to be like my band is opening up for this guy, that's been such a huge impact
An
musically on.
icon our entire lives, pretty
Yeah, I mean
much.
to every, not just it just that was insane to me. So that was definitely like just a like pinch me moment,
yeah.
Um,
Do you remember the first time I met him, when we were on the bus and he just like was trying to go to bed, and then he just turned around and looked at me and then didn't say anything, and I'm like getting really nervous at this point because Phil's kind of like, like intense guy sometimes, right? Like, and he just kind of comes up to me and he's just like, he's like all in my face, like doing all these karate chop moves, and I'm like stunned and I don't know what to do. And then he just stops and he backs away and continues looking at me. He's like, good night. And then he just shut the slidey thing and went to bed. And I was like, ah, I guess he's cool with me, because he wouldn't have done that otherwise. I can say for this, if we're sort of touching on things from before with memorable shows, people that blew me away. I always loved the Hatebreed guys. I think that's a fucking
yeah,
incredibly good band. And I think that every single dude in that band is like the best dude.
100%.
So the tour that I met Battlecross on was Hatebreed was headlining, Shads was direct support, the Acacia Strain, Battlecross was opening the bill. They had Adam from All Shall Perish filling in at that point. And, and I knew he wasn't, coming back, or, he was going to go back to All Shall Perish. So there was an opening, and Jay obviously went and vouched, and things worked out the way they worked out, and they went and hired Alex. But I also, at that point, my house burned down. So there was no, like, my audition would have been forthcoming had that not happened. So I still feel like it worked out the way it needed to work out. But where was I going with this? What was the point? What were we just talking about? There was a
we're
You
talking
point.
about bands that we toured with.
Oh, yeah. So, okay.
And Hatebreed.
Hatebreed. So I had teched for Bittner a lot, and Shads had toured a tremendous amount with Hatebreed over the years. So him and Matt are really, really good friends. And I knew Matt, obviously as the drummer in Hatebreed. Sort of this guy Jay knew, but he used to write articles in the back of Drum Magazine almost every month. So it's like shit that I would practice growing up. And then I meet him on the tour. We sort of broke down. The drummers sometimes get a little clicky, so that kind of happened. And we all kind of became friends or whatever. And I remember we went to Europe and played a festival in Spain that Hatebreed was headlining. And I was such a huge fan of the band, and I was already kind of like felt pretty, cool that I got to know these guys, and they're all super cool guys, and now, whatever. And I remember I got the show. I played a really good show outside this beautiful venue somewhere in Spain at like Resurrection Fest or something. I don't totally remember. It was one of those. But I
Yeah,
get off the stage and it's Wayne and Josta and I think Matty Byrne and all these guys, and they were so jazzed, so stoked about me playing drums and not setting them up. And I remember, I'm not gonna say who, but they're like, it's just like, Bitter gonna tech for you, or like, you know what I mean? And it was just such a nice compliment, and it was the first time I remember being like, fuck, like this is nice that I'm like starting to get to be an equal, not just the tech, not that I diminish the role of that. It
Well,
did a lot of good stuff, but it was
I
cool.
think one of the cool things about Hatebreed is they're not just a band, right? They're also a fan of the music, right? Look at what Josta's doing with all the, Milwaukee Metal Fest and his podcast and his label, and it's just right. It's how can we perpetuate it? And you're a fucking tremendous drummer, dude. Like you really are. Every time I fucking see you, I'm like,
Thank you.
Jesus Christ, man. I love watching your videos because I could watch you fucking play all the time.
Thank you.
And
fuck yeah.
I think everyone else recognizes that also.
Yeah, it was definitely cool. And I feel like the thing is I take it seriously. So, it's always nice when you feel like you're putting a lot of time and effort into stuff, and then you can actually see it sort of pay out in a lot of different ways or mediums or dividends or what have you. It was obviously nice that, the guys in the band enjoyed what I did, and that we really, I think, gelled cohesively as a band. And obviously I wasn't same engine as the guys before. Each drummer's a little different when they come in, but I felt like what we were turning out from the point in time that I kind of came on board was really high quality, and I was very proud of it, and still very much am. But then it's cool because there's these other cats that you meet, through band or other people that I've met through Jay and stuff like that, that are these incredible drummers that like, oh my God, like I got to play in front of this guy now, and it's just insane when you get a nice compliment after that, because you're so nervous sometimes,
Yeah.
You're like, shit, like I played in front of Jay like so much in my life just from being a student or whatever. It's like, it's not like I don't get totally tripped up by that, but I've always wondered if there was a way that we toured where it was like Battlecross and Shads, but I had been in it, like if I would have been a little nervous kind of being not only the student, but his former tech, and I'm there. And more than likely, he would make me tech for him after I have to, like, you got to break down your shit and then come set up
and then
mine.
set mine up, motherfucker.
Yeah.
To it.
Actually, to be honest with you, I think if that was really the case, just knowing his set and my set, I would almost guarantee we could share a kit for that whole tour. We play in a very, very similar setup. So,
right on.
and he's about the same. We're both short kings, so he's not a very tall guy. So height and wingspan wise, like I think it's physically we're very similar. So as you can see, like it's mostly this kind of setup is similar to what he would have.
So we just got to get like a Battlecross and Shads fucking tour going now.
Well, I can say this, man. I would definitely at one point had sort of broached it with Overkill, and they're like, "Yeah, like we're definitely interested. Come out with new music."
Yeah.
And I was like,
that's the biggest thing.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. We can't tour without a new record. So.
No, and and talking about things, I don't even know if the new whatever, like, is it a touring thing? Is it a record thing? I think that's sort of some of the stuff to bring it back around to the beginning. Like, we don't really know the shape of it, but I think we all throughout this time, and especially at least where I find my feelings now, it's like, I'm eager to write. I think it's really difficult to walk away from something that I think that you can tell is so good and that you're just gonna not do it again. That's tough.
Well,
it's powerful.
The difference is that these aren't guys that I'm like, I fucking couldn't stand them, and I don't, you know what I mean? I'm like, I fucking love these guys. These guys are my brothers. So
Gumby's all right.
Nah, but like, you know what I mean? Like that's why it's like I can't really, like you said, I can't walk away from it. I still very much love seeing these guys and have some of the best memories of my life because of these guys. So do I want to do another record and some shows with it? Like, yeah, of course. I would love to do that. But the record, you know, all that's got to happen before that happens, right? So I
Well,
can't I can't
I'm
make a
gonna
promise. I
listen.
can't put it.
I'm gonna put it to you like this. Does it really? Because the reality is, you've got 3 full fucking albums, right? You've got a lot of music to put together a set. You don't have to, and I'm just I'm speaking from the fan, right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to have a new record. You know, everyone in the BFU is going to go out. We're all going to fucking support you. What if it's one show, a week of shows, a year of shows, whatever, we're going to fucking support it. And when you're ready, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's, to
No,
me, that's the important thing, when you're ready.
right. No, I get that. I think for me, I feel like it's a my personal feeling, and I know the fans feel differently, is I feel like it's cheating the fans to not give something new.
Hmm.
Like I just don't like the idea of doing the same show over and over.
So don't
Especially when it's just
do a
the
fucking show
same
of
songs.
covers.
And well, here's the other thing is that you got to make sure that everybody's on board with changing up the set, and that's not always the case.
The
Yeah.
easiest thing,
So
right?
I don't want to point fingers at anybody, but it's very hard sometimes to get
Yes.
a change up in the set.
Yeah.
So that said, it's like we need some new shit to throw in there if we're gonna do some, you know, old show, or to play the old songs. Let's at least have some new songs.
Yeah. I also feel like the cover thing too is hard, because I remember we closed a show at one point with War Ensemble, and we all thought it was so fucking great, and we played it really good. And I remember I was talking, it might have been Zach Guntel, and he's just like, yeah, I mean, you know, Slayer's cool, but like, would have been cool to hear, I don't know, a Battlecross song as your last song. That I came to see you guys and not Slayer, and I never forgot that, because I was like, as shitty as I feel
To be
for doing
fair,
that, he's not wrong. Like like, you know, like, yeah. So,
but
I
that's the
feel
beauty of a live show, right? Because you don't know what, generally you don't know what songs are coming or what's going to end,
yeah,
right?
no, I
You
know.
know, you go for that, but Zach is also going to go see Creed 7 or 8 times on this tour.
I mean, I was trying to do this the other day. I don't think I could name 4 Creed songs. I just know the 3 that everybody else knows. And I really thought hard about this, because it's Higher and the My Jacrifice, and then and then
My Own Prison.
yeah, or like, it's not the 6 feet from the edge one or whatever, like, or with arms wide
6 feet of edging.
open, 6 feet of edging. Oh my
Oh
God.
God.
Dude, there's so many cover bands. We should start a Creed cover band. I still want to start my Cars cover band with Don, called Fender Bender. I thought I thought it'd be great.
Oh man.
Oh
Ah,
goodness.
God.
So,
And
Yeah.
you know, I think, really, like, when you guys are fucking ready, obviously we're still here for it. If you guys want to record an album, we're really fucking here for it.
Yeah. No. I mean it when I say that I do want it to happen. I just don't know when.
yeah.
But
Sure.
I want it to happen, and you know,
And I think that it's
maybe.
different than what you necessarily wanted like over a year ago,
Yeah, I mean, a
you know,
year ago, I felt like
just
I
to
was
make the
just
point.
done, you know. And I think I needed to step back, and
Mhm.
I still kind of, I think now I'm just at that point where, if I do music, then I want it to be in something that I put a lot of years into,
Mhm.
which is obviously this band, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, when I was doing the other projects and stuff, I'm happy I got to do all that. And But I think now, like reflecting on it, it's like if I do something and I'm going to commit time to a band, I think that it would just be Battlecross. Like I'm just going to do that, you know?
Oh, getting
Uh,
older, and I think your priorities are a little
totally.
different
Yeah.
now, right?
Yeah. And like, the whole touring thing, like we'll never tour like we did,
Yeah.
years ago. But
Never
if we
say
were all
never.
on board to do some shows here and there, like, yeah,
Yeah,
like if it
100%.
worked out in everybody's schedule, like, I mean, that's like I said, going back to like the freedom of feeling like you can just do things how you want to do. I think that's what makes this like, at least with, if we're doing another album and all that stuff, like it would just be all on our own terms. And I see
Yeah.
it as doing it independent and all
Mhm.
that, so there's no one to tell us no, we'll just do what we want.
I feel like that's how it should be, right? Like you
Yeah.
guys do it
I mean,
on
that's the
your
way I
terms.
envision it. I don't want to speak for everybody else, but
I
like,
like
I
it.
feel like it
you
would
know,
make the most sense coming from where we're coming from. So I think do it that way
yeah,
to give us I think the thing is at the end of the day, no matter what, independent label, all that stuff, I feel like you made the point before, like, I know the music's not going to suffer at the hands of whatever decision we make. Like, and I think for me, that's really it. I want to make, and I don't know why, and I've always felt like this, and this is not to diminish any of the other material, but for some reason, I feel like the fourth one's going to be like the best one. And I don't know why. Even if I wasn't on it, I don't know. I felt like we had hit such a good stride, toward when with what we were doing and how we were playing that I'm like, there's no way in my mind that all these five individual parts that are, working so cohesively together is going to manufacture something bad, you know?
yeah,
But, I think the
And
thing is you want to push the songs where they need to go. And sometimes it isn't cut and paste and we're done. It's, they can take months, or,
yeah.
sometimes you have people that are not all living in the same state. So that complicates things. Sorry.
I
You
guess you got
know,
to move,
uh,
Brian.
no, I mean, the thing is at this point, I know there's a Delta Direct out of Albany right to Detroit. Like, and I think the thing is we're not
Listen,
opposed to
let's
doing any of
just
that stuff.
let's just
So
make it easy. I know a good realtor in Michigan that can
yeah,
find you a
yeah, I
place.
do too. I do too. No, and I think the thing is it's, that's only one aspect of it. I think, um, as I said before, I think it was everyone had their own kind of personal life things that they were going on. And, and Tony has 3 children too. That's a
Yeah,
huge part of it, and
Yeah.
I even remember when I first came on, it was right when Gio was born. And there was a night we were playing a show and I went to the green room and he was just really kind of 1,000 yards staring. I'm like, and it was deep into the tour at this point, and we were a couple of days from home. So there's always a little bit of that, you're sometimes just like, oh, I can't wait to use my own toilet, like, or
Yeah.
whatever. And I kind of was like, dude, what's up? You look a little distressed. He's like, I gotta get home to the kid. I gotta get home. And I think the thing was we kind of had said to him that, like, dude, like, don't miss this part of your kid's life. Like, they're gonna be 18 at some point and they're not gonna want to hang out with you. So like this is the part that you should be around for when they're little and they're growing, because they're gonna be 1 and then 17 in 4 weeks, it seems like. So we were like,
Yeah.
and I think with the way that we were doing things, it was, he felt comfortable enough with it that, there was no pressure from us. If anything, we were more encouraging for him to go be with his family, because that's what you ought to do. And I think with this, there's enough flexibility where we were still able to play shows through those periods. And, it was kind of, we got to have the cake and eat it too a little bit, where we didn't end the band, but everyone got their home life and things like that.
Well, that
Yeah.
was a really cool thing for me is being able to bring my family to the shows and share that with them, because fuck, some of my favorite memories are just photos of Bailey like up on my shoulder, or fucking we're standing in front of Tony while he's tuning up or something,
Over
like,
there smiling.
yeah, him and his fucking, just to have those memories as a family. Like, I get it, because
Yeah.
Bailey's fucking 17 now.
Hmm.
Like, Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
And let me guess, she was like 5, like 8 days ago, right?
Feels
Like
like
it
it,
go,
yeah.
yeah. you know, and I think that, you know, for him, that's a huge thing. And Tony's such a family oriented guy, you know, just knowing him and his wife, like that was a big thing for them, you know, and it's like, you know, I heard someone say this about a different band. I don't remember who it exactly was, but like you forget sometimes that you didn't just want to be a musician in your life. That was obviously my main pursuit, but there's other nuances to life that are equally as rewarding or equally as important, that I put a lot of stock into, you know, that I think are as, you know, beneficial and all those things. But to the point that Don made to me that night, you know, it's still, I still measure a lot of the pride, what I do professionally on stuff with drumming or on stage and stuff like that. And I think some of the proudest moments I have professionally that I still talk about were things that I accomplished with this band, or, you know, are things that I hope to accomplish in the future with this band and things like that. So, you know, it's definitely an interesting it's an interesting situation, this life of ours. How would Tony Soprano say it? This thing of ours.
This thing of ours.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
well, like you said about having other things, like that was like a realization moment for me, you know, as things winded down. Because all I ever, when I was in the band, and you know, going back to talking about mindsets, my mindset was the band is everything, and there's nothing else. I'm not allowed to have anything else but this band. You know, that was how much of my focus was on, you know, what we were doing. So like, you know, when that did start to slow down, and you start to realize maybe you kind of want other things in your life, and you know, and it's just, I can just tell you it was very freeing to have that break and to be like, oh, I can like plan vacations, I can like do stuff and not feel like I can't do anything. Because I mean, and I don't want to take away from like what the band was doing, it's just, but obviously like you forego a lot of things when you make a dedication to a band that is actively touring. Like you just can't make plans like you think you can. Like now I can, like I can make vacation plans and all that stuff, where for years, and like, you know, having to miss a friend's wedding and like things like that, it just sucks, you know, like little stuff like that where you miss out on certain, I mean, God fucking bless Gumby for how many years, you know, he went out on the road while his kid's growing up. You know, talk about missing out on like your young years. I mean, that was Gumby missing out on, you know, his kid growing up, being out there. So it's like there's a lot of sacrifice. So, well, and a lot of sacrifice too.
A lot of sacrifice.
So
Maybe
much
more
sacrifice.
maybe more of that. The jury's still
anything.
out. Come to the show, you guys be
Right.
the judge.
But you know, I don't know. What I want to say is just like, you know, it's there came a point where it was just like there's other things in life, and that I'm discovering that it's like I can have more than just this, you know. And the fact that I do have this balance in my life is a lot better than simply focusing on one thing and feeling like that's all you can have, you know. So it's, I think that's why there's more of like this now that I feel like I'm settling in on certain things in my life. It's like revisiting music, because I'll always have music, right? You know, obviously it's just going to be in my life in different ways, but like this band has been obviously a huge part of my life. So to say that when I needed that break, it's like, you know, that's how I was feeling, but I don't think ever in my mind I was like, I'm fucking done.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
And I know I've said that already. Like I'm done. I guess I was done, but like just to say that I've completely, no way is this ever happening. You know, I never said that, and I stand by that. It's like I don't feel that way. I just don't know like when we'll get back up on that horse again. But
well, you know, I'm a firm believer that everything happens in its time, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like everything. So Jen and I 25 years ago we ran in two separate circles, but the circles intertwined, and we hung out in the same places, and we knew the same people, and we never met. We didn't meet until, well, I got to think, 12 years ago now.
Mm, mm. And who knew,
Right.
right?
That's crazy.
Dude, I find that stuff so strange too, because like, the way stuff pans out sometimes, it's almost just like it's too circumstantial to be circumstance, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Because I even think back, to give a little clarity to a point I made previously, when I first met these guys on that tour, I was getting prepared to audition. And this is prior to Rise to Power coming out and all that stuff. And I had the house burned down literally the night before I was supposed to film like my audition tape. So obviously I'm devastated because like my house burned down, and luckily everyone alive and we lost the house, but whatever, it's just a house. Everyone was okay. But it derailed like a year of my life, and obviously the band wasn't going to stop, so they wound up getting Alex, and then he winds up going on to Trivium and all that stuff, and had a lot of success there, and obviously a fantastic drummer. But I was so heartbroken, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, oh my God, it was like I go on these tours to find a band that might need a drummer. I find one, they're interested, and then this shit happens. Like, what did I do cosmically? You know what I mean? Like, this is great, I must have like kicked a kid in the face like in a former life or something. I don't know, right? So, but either way, what winds up happening is I go through that period and I don't think about it, and I still kind of keep my nose to the grindstone with stuff. I think there were another tour or two in there with Bittner, and you guys called me back, and I was so shocked that I knew opportunity was hard pressed to knock once, let alone again, after going through that whole thing. So it's almost just like it felt like it was very abara, a Yiddish word here, very kismet, that it all kind of happened that way, almost like it was going to happen that way one way or the other. But
It
it
was
just
going to
wasn't going to
happen
happen.
regardless of whatever
Yeah,
other circumstances
just
happen.
not in the timeline that I thought it
Yeah.
was going to. And I think the thing was, it was, if what is it? It's like luck is when preparation meets opportunity. You know what I mean? And it was like I was prepared and opportunity showed up and I got lucky, and obviously they picked me and all that stuff. I'm sure I wasn't the only guy in the running, but I was prepared enough and willing enough to do all the stuff. And I remember that kind of 9 days very, very clearly because it was the start of something really great. And I remember just freaking the fuck out because I was like, it's like a tornado came and hit my life, and it's like I got to drive 10 hours to Tony's house that I've only met on the tour with you guys for, a little bit, and, this whole thing. And I remember just like being so like I can't believe this is happening the first night, and the first show at Bogart's I remember very vividly, and it was so good for a first show with only 10 days of
Yeah.
practice. And then Guar was just mind-blowing. And then I remember the next day at what is it, the Eagles ballroom there in Milwaukee, where I to date that was the worst show of my entire professional career at that place. And it was almost like I relaxed too much after the first show didn't go so bad that I thought I had it, and then I fucked up, and then I kept fucking up, and it just snowballed. And I just remember being so mad at myself after that show. But Don and me had a very good pep talk at the end of the night. And we worked really hard after that to make it as smooth as we could. And I think it was through that stuff that it was really when the good period started happening. And I
Yeah.
remember by mid-tour with them, we were playing great.
Yeah.
And but yeah, just very interesting how all that stuff sort of pans out, and it's unpredictable.
Well,
Time
yeah, I
takes you
mean,
by the wrist and tells you where to go.
well,
Sorry.
talk about like when you talk about relationships where like it it's not all like it wasn't like I don't know, like I can compare it into like where people talk about, oh, like as soon as we met it just like meshed, and it was just like there was like the struggle, right? Like there was this struggle, and like both people are going through like where we're losing this drummer trying to find somebody. Here comes Brian, and so Brian's like, I got something to prove, and like I want to do this thing, I want the gig.
Mhm.
And then on our side, like I mean, me especially, like full transparency, I'm like fucking skeptical. I'm like, who's this fucking guy?
he's gonna come in here and like, well, okay, let's see what he can
With
do.
this Seth Rogen bullshit.
Who's this fucking guy who just won't stop talking?
Yeah, with his mouth full loudly.
He just eats a lot and talks a lot.
Talks shit all the time.
But like, you know, like for me, like my side of the story is that it took a minute for like Brian to like adjust to me.
Yeah.
You know, it was like he's coming in new. I'm still like grieving at the loss of our drummer, Alex. Like, fuck, man, we had this great drummer, and like now we got to start over. And so there was like this anxiety of like feeling like you have to match up to like this level, and you're having this guy that, yeah, we toured with him, we know him, but we don't know him well, and comes in and, I mean, improves himself. I mean, he goes through this, you know, we have a good first show, but then there's rough patch. But
Yeah.
he fucking, I mean, look at where it led to. And like what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say is like it was a rocky start. It wasn't just
Yeah.
like boom, like everything clicked right away.
No.
It took some time. And
It
like
absolutely did.
now that he's like he's one of us. And like
Yeah.
that is just like the perfect storm of like just like we're just like the perfect recipe of somebody that comes in, and it's more than just being able to play, it's how you gel with everybody.
Yeah, I think
And
that was a
Brian's
big part of it.
gelled so well with us. Like, I mean, he
Hell yeah.
by the middle of that tour, it was just like we're like, yeah, this guy's like, he's one of us. Like the way we joked and just all the stupid shit that it was just having somebody be able to come in and feel like, okay, he's one of us. And not to knock like anybody else that's drummed before previously, but we obviously had like different guys that came from like higher profile bands. But like when they came in there, I think there was always like there was definitely like, you know, we obviously got along with them, but there wasn't that gelling that, because I guess we never even got time to, right? Like we have somebody come in and then they're gone, right?
Well, and it's funny you say that, because I feel like with Brian coming in, that was that piece, right? I've always felt that Brian is the one that has fit the best with you guys.
Yeah, like the essential blend of Southwest spices, you know, where it's still a good taco, but it's so much better with Southwest spice, you know,
with that Southwest spice.
Yeah.
It's a really good tamale. It's just not the same.
Yeah, you gotta just remove the husk though. That's the whole thing.
But yeah, man, like I don't know, you know, he's the drummer that we've needed for a long time, and you know, it happened, and that's why I feel like an album has to happen, because I feel like we'd be robbing ourselves of that. Robbing
songs,
Brian.
10 drum intros. That's gonna be I'm gonna play the intro fill to Where Eagles Dare for 27 minutes straight on repeat for the intro song, just to let them know that I know that you know.
No,
we're back.
He knows.
I said to Megan that I want Gumby to somehow say some incarnate of that at my wedding. Like, I just want you to know that he knows that you said that I do. Or something.
Oh God.
Oh God. Yeah. No, but I mean, talking from my perspective too, it was definitely like, I had been through some other touring experiences, with other bands, Shads, and I got along really great with all those guys. But I was coming from a different place, and I had only known these guys a little bit, through that tour. So it was interesting for me to kind of go in and, you're playing the shows now that you were only setting up drums for before and things like this, and I think for me, it was a big learning curve on how to be a professional, drummer on that level. Because I had always explained to, people that were kind of in the local circle that it was like, I kind of feel like I went from the minor leagues to the majors, and the stage is different, and the things you're going to have to do are different, and your ability to do certain things for those gigs obviously has to improve. And it's difficult to just be able to know how to do that immediately, even with preparation. You got to sort of learn on the job, and I think that, you know, for me, even remembering that that second show was so bad, it really stuck with me, and I still remember it. And I know that I never want to have a show that feels like that ever again. So I almost scared myself into making sure that I'm so prepared now that it just can't happen. But, you know, as a more seasoned musician and things like that too, it's like, you know, I've learned how to, you know, I remember, to put it like this, there was a old bass teacher I had that was like over at like SUNY Purchase or something, like the jazz program or something. And he was saying something to all of us when we were, you know, there doing the whatever, like, the only difference between you and me is that if I make a mistake, I can correct it sooner than you younger musicians. And I never really knew what that meant. I thought it was him just being pretentious. But as time went on, I'm like, that's really the case. It's not that mistakes won't happen. It's that you know how to handle them a lot better. And that second show, I didn't really know how to handle it, you know, because I was thinking, and that's sometimes the enemy of the good, right? Like, I'm so thinking about don't fuck up, you fuck up because you're not thinking about what the part you have to play is, you know.
Well,
it
you're
was
also
almost
you're
like,
giving energy to that bullshit too, right? Whereas
well,
like,
yeah,
you
and
know,
I for
at that point it there becomes a point where you've got to really rely on muscle memory and not like you
but two
know.
shows in, after only like 11 days, having never really played not only this music but this, you know, really going full into the style was, you know, that was a tall order. So I didn't nail it, you know. Um, you know, so for me that was a little bit like I was so defeated, you know, and I know Tony was not on the tour at that point, because he, you know, had just had Geo and was home and all that stuff. And I remember he had some Facebook post up or something too that was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening and I'm not there. And that was even more like, oh well, if it wasn't bad now
Nah.
now it's really bad because he's not here and he knows, you know. So I actually, you know, as far as that all went, I remember I was so pissed the night that happened that Battlecross has always had, and I learned that I think for the first time this night, but we have always as a band had kind of a rule that if something happens that we know that is going to have to be addressed, discussed, talked about, whatever it is, we always do it. We give ourselves 15 plus minutes, you know, so we won't talk about it immediately after the show when emotions might be running high. There's always time to do shit, you know what I mean? And I felt like I took my 15. They let us know. Yeah, of course. What did he say? What did this guy say?
Said, shit guys. Sorry I missed it on another planet and totally forgot. Just looked at my phone for the first time in hours.
I'm just like, don't even answer him. Just
Now I'm gonna send him a fucking text. We're still doing this,
yeah,
dude.
he's gonna try and get
Call
on.
in.
Um,
Call in and win tickets to your favorite concert.
yeah, Dave Matthews. But wait, where was I? So, oh yeah, but Don talked to me after that, and he gave me this great pep talk. He came in, it was just basically like, dude, like, you know, we know you can do it. Like, that's why we picked you. It wasn't a random selection. Like, we know you have the ability to play the songs, and we want you to play the songs. And it was just such a good, like, he hands me a beer, we crack a beer, we cheers the beer, we do the whole thing. And you know, it was really great. And he's walking out of the trailer, and then he just kind of stops and turns around. He's like, and he just looks at me and he's like, but don't ever fucking do that again. And then he just turned the trailer and left, and I never did it again. So it worked out. But no, it was the start of a really good you know, working relationship, I think, as, you know, obviously musicians, but also as people. And I think it was almost the synergy of both of those things really led us to the place where, oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh my God.
I gotta change the view so I can see everybody. There we go.
Do you have the strip at the top?
I do.
Yeah, my
Now I
strip's
just
at
have
the
the
top.
three. Now I see the 3 bars, but
Hold on. Is there, I see view, gallery. What's gallery view? Oh,
yeah.
this is nice.
There
Yeah. Yeah. What up? What's up, Tone?
You
Hey, I
hammered?
don't know. Is this working? Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
See
you.
ya.
I'm just trying to find my earbuds. How you guys doing?
Good, good.
We're better
Good, man.
now
We
that you're
haven't, we
here.
haven't
Better,
even
yeah.
started yet. We just now started.
We just
Yeah.
started.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about all the other
You're
stuff.
shitting me.
No, seriously. We didn't tell him about your Mayhem t-shirt that's covered in sriracha.
Oh my God, I can't find my earbuds. I had them right here, and now they're gone.
Or
The
shitting
kids
behind
took
the
'em.
dumpster and using Brian's towel.
Yeah, I told him about how you use my stage towel to poop on.
No, really. What time did you guys start for real?
8:30.
Yeah, 8:30.
That's
Dude,
not
you
a
guys been
joke.
going for 3 hours?
Yeah.
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 Hang on, Trisha's gonna look in the room.
Hi, Trisha.
How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I'm super
didn't-
sorry that I dropped the ball on this, you guys. I feel like
No,
a
you're
fucking
fine.
asshole.
I didn't realize you were still on vacation.
Yeah, I didn't either until I saw photos earlier and I was like, oh, okay.
Well, I mean, when we planned this out, I was like, man, no, I won't have anything going on at that time. Like, we're good. Like, and I really, you know, I knew I would be in Florida, but I didn't think that I would forget. You know what I mean? So you guys can call me an asshole because I am. I'm sorry.
Shoot,
So let
you're
me
good.
just.
Oh, good,
You're
dude.
spending time with your family. Fucking enjoy that
Yeah.
Yeah.
shit.
How
I
dare
mean,
you?
they're almost as cool as us.
Oh,
Listen.
dude, they're probably in the van. All right, hang on.
So the night of the last show, all of my stuff was at a table with Sam and Angela and Jen and Bailey and Caitlin. Well, all the girls went home. Sam takes all of the stuff at the table, throws it in the fucking Uber with the girls, and off they go. Well, my fucking coat was in that pile of stuff.
Oh man.
I'm like, where the hell is my coat? Like, this is not good. Oh, it's probably in that. I sent it with the girls. I'm like, you know, it's like fucking freezing ass cold outside,
Mm,
and I'm in a t-shirt.
mm.
I'm like, fuck, how are we gonna get home? He's like, I'll order Uber, but we gotta wait outside. And I was like, I'm not fucking waiting outside. Are you fucking crazy? So Trish gave us a fucking ride home. I was like, oh, thank God for someone.
Oh, nice.
Cheers to the rescue. That's badass.
Cheers to the rest.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I can't find my earbuds, so I'm just gonna hang out in the van.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Where in Florida are you, Tone?
I am in Palm Harbor,
Okay.
and in the house, like the kids are sleeping and shit, and fucking. Oh, there goes all the lights in the van.
That was great.
Yeah, here we go. Brian, how are you, Brian?
I'm good, Tone. I left you I told these guys like a rambling, incoherent voicemail about how I'm a terrible friend because I said I was gonna call you 2 weeks ago and never did. So
I didn't get that voicemail. Who'd you send it to?
Billy Joe Asta in my phone. I left you a voicemail for like a minute
Wait. When was this? I
today.
haven't. Oh, okay. I just haven't listened to it yet. I'm sorry.
All right. Yeah, no, it's there. I sent it
All
because
right.
I felt bad that I said I was gonna call you. That I was like, I should probably reach out to him before I see him tonight because that's gonna be sort of shitty. And then I called you hastily today at like noon and left you a message about that I'm a terrible friend.
Yeah, bro. What's up with that? What's up with that, Brian?
Sorry.
I was
I
like,
know.
bro, you can call me anytime, and then no, you don't call me, you cock. Until the last minute.
But I was like, it was even funny because it was like I was telling them too. It wasn't like I was just like, oh, I said I was gonna call and then I forgot. It was like I literally had it written down on like several to-do lists, and then it just never happened because I am an idiot. So I felt really bad about it. So I'm sorry, and I will publicly apologize on this podcast for not following through in the manner with which I should have.
I forgive you, Brian.
Thank you, Tone.
You know, there would be nothing better, Brian, than to just get together and hang out, man. So
I know. We can, and I will. I feel like we don't have to do this now, but we still potentially could do shit for Memorial Day. So
Yeah.
I think maybe we possibly should.
I think that we do need to talk about it right now because it's the only time I've been able to get a hold of you.
Sorry, dude.
I'm just fucking
Oh
with
God.
you. I'm fucking
Yeah.
with you.
but no, we can talk about it. I don't know if you guys want to do the same thing, like campy stuff, or if we want to whatever, but I'm down to do something. We left the date open, so
I'm
if you guys
down.
want to go to Louisville.
Louisville.
Dude, you guys come hang out with us. We'll fucking party. We'll eat some kangaroo burgers.
Yeah. You missed this, Tone. We actual kangaroo meat burger.
Holy shit.
Yeah, dog.
I mean, like I can see that in like Australia or something, but
Where there's just a kangaroo problem.
yeah, they have too many. They need to thin the herd. Shoot her!
Shoot,
Shoot her!
I learned really quick today, by the way, Tone, too, that I used one of your phrases that I realized you can't use with like college kids. Because you can't threaten to throw items of theirs into a wood chipper and have them be like, I was like, oh, because I'm trying to make a comparison about like we have certain things with financial aid called special circumstances, which is essentially like if we're looking at like the 22 tax year and you did okay, but had like a loss of income in 23, like because we're not looking at 23, your financial situation looks better. So I'm trying to give examples about like how that works. And I'm like, like 2022, your dad does really good at a job. 2023, he falls into a wood chipper. He's not earning income anymore. Special circumstance. Like he doesn't have money coming in. And this girl just looked at me like, what did you just say? I was like, oh, like just their dad's not making money due to a wood chipper incident, like, and not
the best
fun.
coming from an Italian dude.
I mean,
Put your mom on a wood chipper.
It was funny in all honesty, and I felt like when I told my coworker about it, she also thought it was really funny, but not funny like haha funny joke, like haha you're fucking, why would you say that to another human being at your job? And I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. Like a simple like your dad got laid off would have probably been fine. But no, I had to go extreme with it.
Tony, so since you're just getting on, I'm hoping you got a buzz. I'm going to ask you about like, is there a band that you toured with that you were like, man, this was like the pinnacle for us?
Fuck. A band that we toured with that was the pinnacle.
Dude, that
Board of Osiris.
Definitely not. Because I totally missed that leg of the tour, so I can't say.
Oh, you did. That's right.
That was when my first son was born. So Katie filled in for me, and I totally missed that whole thing. But a show that definitely comes to mind, it wasn't a tour, would be Orion Fest with Metallica. That was just that whole summer, that whole spring, summer, like, I don't know, was
that
just
fucking
unreal.
light is killing me.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm outside. It's a street light. It's a street light. I'm in the van.
You're like a floating head.
Hang on.
Yeah, it's very.
Here's another light.
It's very ethereal.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Just remember to shut it off so you don't drain the battery. When you gotta go somewhere.
No, but yeah, I can't think of a tour right off the top of my head because when I think of the tours, I think of like the guys in the band, and I think of like the personal relationships and just how there were so many cool dudes, and between the band members and the crews and everything is just, I'd hate to just pick one as like the pinnacle because there's a lot of memories there. But just like the feeling of like, holy shit, I cannot believe we're playing this right now, would Orion would be like the first thing I think of. So because we got to meet, half of Metallica and whoever else. So it was just, that's the first thing that comes to mind for me anyway.
I always thought that was cool. They fucking, they shouted you guys out specifically. And I was like, that's fucking awesome. And to be in a band and have someone at that status go, oh yeah, and these guys are fucking where it's at. It's got to be.
Yeah.
like,
Well, yeah. Not only just the status that they're at, is just growing up being like diehard fans of. Fan myself of Metallica.
That's what I mean by status, right? Like you fucking grow up listening to them, and that's because I'm with you, right? Like we grew up in the same ish time.
Mhm.
You know, to have the people that you looked up to shout you out and say, "Hey, this is the band that's fucking doing it."
Definitely.
Yeah.
And now we're a major disappointment.
Yes. What happened to those losers?
Fuck. Nah, I'm sure that's not the case at all. They're
That's what Metallica says every time they come to Detroit. They're like,
Not
what
true.
happened to the Battlecross losers?
James called me fucking in November. Hey, we're gonna be in Detroit. You think Battlecross will come play? And I was like, I don't know. They're on an indefinite hiatus,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Maybe fucking next time. He
Yeah,
said,
for
okay.
Oh yeah, you're right. I was gonna give him a call, but now that you said that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Max
fuck 'em.
Cavalera
Fuck
told me they're Detroit trash. Oh my
Detroit
God.
trash.
Dude, that was the funniest thing. Like, he just couldn't say thrash because of the accent. So he would get up there and try to be like hype in the band. And he'd be like, oh, let's hear it for suffocation. Battlecross, Detroit trash. And we're all like, wow, bro, like not selling it so good. Like Detroit trash. That's
Oh, yeah,
exactly what we are. Like,
that was the
cool.
tour with Lodi Kong too, right?
Mhm,
Yeah.
Cody Long.
mhm.
Yeah. So that was the tour. That's the tour I met Nate,
The Great White Nate White.
the Great White Nate White.
Yeah.
What?
Seen him
Nate
in a bunch
White.
of shows previous, but that night we were all fucking hammered in Dayton, and I was like, I
Oh, it
asked
was
Tony, I
Dayton.
was like, Tony, will you guys give us a ride back to the hotel because we can't get a fucking Uber? And he's like, oh, let me introduce you to someone. And Nate gave us a ride, and he's like, don't puke in my car. So we were fucking riding back to the hotel, and everyone thought Jen was going to get sick because it was Sam, Angela, Jen, and myself. And just like, oh, you got to pull over. Pulled over. Ange got out, fucking threw up, got back in the car, was like, good. We get back to the hotel and drank some more.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
Ugh,
Full disclosure, I don't remember any of that.
that's okay. You don't remember the whiskey either when we fucking hang out. I was just drinking vodka all night.
So I do remember running into you at the whiskey and you were super wasted.
Oh, I was, yeah.
That's what I remember. And I was like, oh my God, dude.
He's so,
He's so
wasted.
drunk.
Fuck, dude, I was.
But I
Before
don't
we
remember
even
anything. Did anything memorable happen? Like, did what?
no,
Okay.
we just drank. I think we just drank a lot. I drank a lot anyway. I was literally just drinking vodka on the rocks all fucking night.
Mm,
That's amazing.
mm.
And we were flying home the next morning, and I woke up, was like,
I'm
Where's-
not flying anywhere. Ugh.
no, I was like, where am I? Like,
Damn.
how'd we get back here? Jen's like, oh, I drove. Like, okay, good.
Oh boy.
Brian.
Ugh.
Brian, your laugh. I miss your laugh, Brian.
I know. I know. I miss you guys terribly, man. That's why I want to hang out. Yeah. What were we talking about? Yeah. So like Tone, we talked about some memorable shows for us.
Yeah.
And I know that one of the criteria were like shows we had attended, shows we had played, and then, for me, shows that I maybe had teched for. So I'm curious for you, do you have a show that maybe we didn't play, but we attended or were around for that you thought was like the shit? Like you were like, oh, the example I gave to let you know was when we were in Europe and Ben Adams was there, and then the Offspring
Yeah.
was huge.
That was cool.
So are there any things like that stick out to you?
Nothing that comes to mind right now, man. It's just been so long. It's hard to remember, but
I do want to mention real quick.
Yeah.
There was a side stage moment with Black Sabbath.
Oh yeah.
And I forgot who. I don't know, Tony. Maybe you were with me. Somebody was with me, or a couple.
I was
people
with
were
you. It was you.
You
and
were
me.
with me. Okay,
I
so
remember
me and
parts
you,
of this. Yeah.
and we were watching Sabbath side stage, and we were allowed, like, we're just totally standing there, and they're like getting ready to go on, and they fucking go out there, like we see Ozzy with his towel over his head, and fucking he's back there and we're just watching all this happen. And it was just amazing. And then like, they go out there and we're there for a little bit, but then more people started showing up and taking their phones out. And then that's when security was like, nope, everybody's got to go. And like those fucking people ruined it. But
Yep.
we had this one small window where we just got to like, nobody knew it. We were like side stage, like nobody said anything. And we're getting to be there while Sabbath is about to take the stage. And I thought that was just fucking amazing.
Yeah, we were up there for 1 or 2 songs.
Yeah, it was for a little bit, and then I remember just like more people started showing up and like being apparent that they're just tourists, basically. Like, oh, we're side stage, and then like then security's like,
you can't
you're
be doing that.
To be here, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Do you remember what festival that was?
It was something in Europe. It might have been It was Grass Pop, I think.
So I remember when we were like, hey, let's try to get up there. So like we flashed our badges at the security guy, just let us go. And we're like, cool. And then we got up a little bit further and we flashed our badges and let us out. It was cool. Like, that's what I remember. But I think that they probably weren't supposed to let us go.
Yeah.
Maybe they just like didn't know which pass was the right one or something. And you're right. I mean, here, when we first got up there was only maybe a handful of people. And then by the time we got kicked out, there was like a fucking ass ton of people side stage. And they were like, they had their phones out and they were recording. And that's really what got the attention of security. If people weren't doing that, they probably wouldn't even notice.
Probably wouldn't have said anything.
Just would have chilled. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's what it was, is we were just, there was not many people there and we were just like, we had passes. So like, yeah, it's cool. And I think once it just started getting crowded, they were like, nope, everybody's got to go.
Damn.
And then they pointed at Hiran, they're like, Hiran, you get to stay and fill in for Tony Iommi for one song.
God, that would have been cool as fuck.
Hell yeah. It's getting hot in this van. Sure does get hot in these rhinos. Name that movie.
Dude.
Ace Ventura 2.
Bam. Shut up, Brian. Hope nobody's like looking out the window right now.
I hope so.
What else did we talk about? I'm trying to think of like things I can keep you up to date. We talked about the Sprinter van in Europe.
Oh, we talked about the
Silver
upcoming Battlecross album too.
Yeah, we did. We did like Hiran's like committing to the possibility that it could happen.
Saying what? What? Wait, say that again?
The upcoming Battlecross album.
No, all I said was that
he's gonna write it.
I'm gonna write it, and then Brian's gonna
like, here you go.
And Brian's gonna compose it on a xylophone.
Yeah,
He's gonna transcribe it,
but not a real one. Xylophone. Like a Fisher Price 1 octave with no accidentals.
Yeah,
it's gonna be really good. Like,
no, all I said is I'm open to another album, and I feel like that would be an accomplishment that has to be done. Is an album with Brian. That's all. That's all I said.
That's what he said.
I just said that I would love to do that.
What he said is an album with Brian has to happen.
Mm-hmm. I too feel that way.
I'm all about that. I'm all about that, bro.
So.
All right.
I feel like it was never us three though. I feel like we'll write all this stuff and then Gumby's gonna be like, I don't want to sing on this shit. Nah, but I feel like the thing is, like, if we came to him and it was mostly like fleshed out, I think he would be like, oh, cool. Like, I get to do this again. Like,
I think
I have no idea what he would say. Maybe he should join in 3 hours later, like I did.
Yeah, like he'll just sign on at 3 a.m.
It's gonna be
What time is it?
11:38.
Holy shit!
We've been going for a minute,
Yeah.
stewing in the pot, cooking.
I don't have anywhere to be. I was just curious.
What else did we talk? I did tell them about the stage towel dump incident. I told them about
talked about Sriracha.
Yeah, I told them where you blasted Sriracha all over yourself and everyone in Super Joint. And then about the whole toilet in Europe that we all used.
The
I'm
swish.
Yeah, the swish. That was like, I think that was more like, for me, that was like a life. Like I will remember that. I could be like amnesia stricken, and I think I would still remember that over like how to use a fork, because it's more important.
You
You know,
you would remember what?
me pooping in the hole in Europe.
Oh yeah, when you made it right
whole,
in.
yeah, when
Those up.
yeah, that one.
Remember what Hiran did? Do you remember what Hiran did?
So when I told the story earlier, I basically said that Gumby used it, and that an unnamed other member of the band used it and totally missed. So now if they watch it for 3 hours, they'll know it was Hiran.
They'll know.
It was totally me.
Yeah, it was totally Hiran.
It was like a mud splat. It was like taking mud and throwing it at a hole, and it just completely missed.
It's a work of art.
And I used the brush. I used the brush.
You said it made it worse. You said it made it worse.
It did make it worse.
It was.
So I apologize to whatever person went into that stall after me, but
probably the janitor.
It's like, Hiran, what are you doing? I'm finger painting.
I literally I hope it was like a small child. Yeah, like
slips on it and cracks his head open on the.
There were, dude, that there were some really good memories on that Euro tour, despite the fact that I was so sick for part of it. Like the whole Boskov thing was ridiculous, and there's like things I remember. Yeah, but dude, like there were so many things that happened that day too. Like I was thinking about it the other day. Do you remember when we were just walking along? Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, go." He's like, "Oh, go here." And then he's like, "That's like a natural spring that's just coming out of the ground," and we started all like drinking out of it. Yeah, it was pretty rad.
It was
awesome. But no,
and then we partied with the mayor.
We partied with the mayor, and he gave us that coffee that was just like unfiltered coffee, like it was just coffee grounds in a cup, if you remember. And then, dude, actually, to be honest, and I know this was wild. I don't remember who I was telling this story to, but I must be really proud of the me and pooping stuff. But do you probably won't remember because you weren't awake. Rod, you wound up waking up first. When we pulled into Boskov, I didn't know we were staying at Frank's house, or I knew, but I figured he was going to be in the van. And I woke up and I had to go to the bathroom so bad. Like it was like an emergency. Like, I don't know if it was whatever, or if I was getting over being sick, and there's no bathroom, and I get out and it's just houses, and I don't know which house is his.
Dude, there was no place to poop.
No. And it literally got to the point where, well, and the best part of the whole thing, dude, was that, so some car drives by, I'm sitting there, like, basically, it's like not even at the point where this is like, haha, it's like, I'm in pain, like it's bad. And I'm like doubling over, like I need to go to the bathroom, and some guy rolls up, rolls down his window. He just starts talking to me, all smiles and not speaking English. And I'm like, I have to shit. Like, what can I? And then he's just like, I was like, I'm here with Frank. And he's like, Frank. And then he just shut the window and pulled away. And I was like, oh, what the fuck was that exchange? I can't. And I'm literally getting prepared to like go to the bathroom between like two houses at this point. Hiran gets up. We go to the Village Inn, and I remember, because you were there for some reason, they didn't let me go before, but the two of us seemed more cool. They'd let us both go to the bathroom, and then we got breakfast there. So it turns out the guy that was talking to me when I was just trying to whatever was the mayor of the town that we hung out with later in the day for like hours. And I had no idea, and he had no idea. And I just found that to be the most humorous part of the whole thing, was that the mayor was like, could have helped me and didn't. Yeah, right.
Hiran, is that the kitty that stays away?
No, this is the cat that I'm pet sitting. Okay. It's my friend's cat.
Hey, Brian.
Hello.
So, real quick, the story you were telling about how you had to shit.
Yeah.
And the dude was like, "Oh, Frank."
Yeah.
Do you mean to tell me that was the mayor?
That was the mayor.
Yeah.
That was him.
Yeah. It was literally the mayor before I knew it was the mayor. And then you can imagine my surprise when I showed up at the town like hall later, and Frank's like, "We're gonna hang out with the mayor," and I'm like, "This fucking guy is the
So
mayor."
did you ever clarify what? Oh, Frank. Oh,
No,
Frank, man.
no,
No.
no.
Okay.
I think he was just jazzed because he was like, "Oh, you know someone here. You're not just some random stranger in the town who's an American." So I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm, blah blah blah." And then we showed up at the thing, and he was the guy. And if you remember correctly, like, because I remember this too. So we wound up going to dinner at that local like village inn. It was like the one inn and pub they had in the town. And to set the scene for you, Tom, this was like a town in the Czech Republic that Frank, our tour manager slash driver, lived in, called Boskov. And there were maybe 400, 500 people, I feel like, that lived in the whole village. And it was just like this remote kind of thing, not like Prague, where like Prague's like a metropolis kind of industrial center, and like or city center, I should say. This was really kind of like a small, tiny village.
Like out of a story.
Yeah, almost like a fairy. It was like quintessentially like it's on top of a hill. There's a church at the highest point in the town, which cool enough. So we were hanging with the mayor. The mayor winds up giving Frank these keys to this church that's right in the center of the town. So he winds up, kind of opening the church up, and you walk in, and a lot of the churches in Europe are like all really pretty because they're old and pristine and all that. So we find out this church was made in the 1580s and has been standing there ever since. So he starts, we go to the regular church area where like everyone's allowed, but the keys he got allowed us to go kind of up the spire of the church. So we went to the first couple layers, and there's just these beautiful paintings that like haven't seen that light of day in hundreds of years. And we wind up going up to the spire and coming out kind of at the top, and we're standing on like the highest point you can see, and there's this beautiful like sunset over these hills, and we're all standing there. And it was like, I think for me that was probably one of the more surreal moments of being on tour, just because it was so not what you would expect, for us just hanging out at Frank's house. It was just like, we're in a church that was built in the 1580s that I have no business being in this unreal location with these dudes. And then even further, so we went to the inn after to get dinner, and I'll remember this because the mayor's in there, and like the whole town's in there at this point in the evening. They're all just playing cards, and it's like clearly gambling, whatever, blah blah blah, all this stuff. And I remember the waitress came over and was like, "Oh, what do you guys want?" And we're like, "Oh, the venison looks good, whatever." And she's like, "Oh yeah, it's definitely good." She's like, "I shot that with a bow and arrow 2 days ago." And we were just like, "What the fuck, dude? Like, what?" But it's like backwoods savages. Like, what is it? You know what I mean? But then if you guys remember correctly, so we do the dinner, we do the whatever, we had like walked a mile and a half, like in the pitch black, because there's no street lights, to some random building in the town. Sorry. And random building in the town. We had like a jam session with the townspeople for like 2-3 hours into like the wee hours of the morning. And that was where the motorboat song happened, if you remember, Hiran.
Yes, I do. Dude, that was ridiculous. Like
that whole
carrying our instruments through this field, like where are we going? We just end up in this barn, and we're like jamming with these kids.
And it's clearly like one of those things where it's like, this is like the shit you see on Twitter where it's like brutal murder in a barn in the Czech Republic. And you're like, oh, cool. Like, we just did that. We walked in the dark, like for miles to this barn that was also dark. So, wild times.
Yeah, I remember
Wild
it was funny
times.
when you mentioned that cafe we went to take a shit in, because I remember getting up and you're like, dude, I was like, I gotta go too. I don't know where the fuck we are, but we're like, Frank's in that house somewhere, he's sleeping.
I didn't know what house it was.
I remember his buddy rolling up, and we're like, yeah, like we don't know where Frank is, and he's like, oh, I think I remember him saying something like he might be sleeping or something like that.
And we're like,
and then we just kept walking. And we found that bar or cafe or whatever. And I remember when we ordered breakfast, like I didn't even know, I couldn't even read what I was ordering. So I was just like, I'm just gonna have that. You know, I think I saw something like tomato or something.
Yeah.
Like I at least
And you
recognized that.
pointed
So I
at
was
it.
like,
Yeah.
it's got tomato on it. I'll eat that. But yeah, that experience was super cool. Like just being in this small town and like who would do that on a vacation? You know what I mean? Like how would
You'd
you
never
end
go.
up there?
You'd never even know it existed. And then the
Yeah.
coolest part too, after that, the next day, because I remember this, um, he took us to that like elaborate random cave system that was there. And it was like legitimately like a real deep. I mean, you probably are fairly close to like Mammoth Caves and all that stuff in Kentucky. But like it was a real cave system, like all that stuff. And I think the funniest part was me and Don were in the back of the line, and Don was behind me, and Gumby was in front of me, and Gumby leaned back at one point right at the beginning to insult one of us about something, and he walked directly into a stalactite. Like full fucking force. Like he turned around to insult us, and we like saw it coming, and no one said anything. And he just full force, not looking, walked into it. And I was like, "That's what you get. That's what you get for wising off."
Fuck
Ugh.
Tony. Tony's roaring.
Sorry.
So is that in the like? Can you just honk just lay on the horn, like
I can't. No, I can't. I'm in like a neighborhood.
just like a good 40-second honk.
No. Fuck you guys.
So if we're talking about, I don't want to get too graphic with the poop because I feel like it's been kind of like a thread on here. Do you remember when we were in Europe, Tone, and we were at the Bay of Biscay, and I had you and Don come spot me to take a shit, and we were in like a neighborhood situation, and it was I wound up, I think, pooping on someone's passenger door of their car. We found out the next morning
Was that
by
in
accident.
Europe or was that in?
No, it was Europe because that was the Bay of Biscay when you stayed clothed the whole night. So
No, but like the shitting on the car thing, wasn't that on Super
no,
Bowl?
because if you remember correctly, what happened, unless this happened more than once,
No, that
and I'm
was in
forgetting,
Europe. That was in Europe.
It was
Well,
we were
then
in
was the beach? Was that on Super Joint?
there was a beach on Superjoint, but the beach that we're talking about was in France, and that was the one where it was like the tide went way out, and we stayed, and we
Yeah.
parked
No, I know
illegally.
that.
Yeah, so when I pooped on the car, it was basically we walked up from the beach in the neighborhood, and we were just trying to find a spot where I could like post up, and we're like, well, this seems like a good place. There's no one around. Yeah, so the best part was that like those two were, kind of making sure no one was around. I, do my thing, and all I remember is like it's like, you're taking a dump, so it sounds like it, and the second it started occurring, you and Don just lost it. Like as soon as there was like a one,
Well, okay, you got to kind of set the scene a little bit because it was like the middle of the night.
Yeah, it was pitch black.
It's like pitch black. The only light you have is like
the moon. It was the moonlight.
The moon, and there was like a couple houses. Like it was sort of like it was sort of like a neighborhood, but on the edge, kind of.
Yeah,
because it wasn't very it wasn't very dense, and there was like maybe a couple houses that had like a lamp on in the window or something, and like there's just like a couple cars like in the street parked in front of their houses, and you just went to town, and you could hear it. It was like because you just broke the silence.
Yeah,
you just broke the silence.
It was just silence, and then just audible poop sounds, and but it was funny because it was like you and Don started laughing so immediately after like the first real attempt, we'll say. I couldn't go because I was just cracking up because it was so funny. It was so funny, and I thought it was so hilarious at the time. So eventually, like, we settled down, and I did what I had to do, and we go back and we, whatever. But the next morning when we were leaving, I clearly saw that I like shit down someone's passenger side door by accident, like unintended. It just happened to be where it was, and we were just like, "Well, that's human poop."
I think Brian has a theme on tour. He's pissing on businesses, shitting on cars. Like,
I'll say this, like, and I don't want to whatever. So now I'm obviously, I've played in a wedding band and all that stuff back home, and it's even gotten to the point where my trumpet player in that band has been like, it really seems like you pride yourself on having to poop in every venue we play at. And I'm like, so there was like a stretch last year where I would just send him a picture of me pooping in every venue that he was also at, like full on tuxedo, like it didn't matter. But then it was cool because there were some that were like artistic that I would also send my fiance. So there was one I remember that we played this like really nice, like kind of far out of the way, definitely pricey wedding at this really nice farm. And I go into the bathroom to put the, tux on and all that because I don't load in with it. And whatever. So I'm in there and they have a full floor to ceiling, like full length mirror, and it's like got candlelight. It's like this perfect kind of nuance or whatever. So there's this fantastic picture of me. You don't see anything but my pants down, taking a shit on the toilet in this room, and I sent it to Megan and my buddy in the band who was in the adjacent bathroom also pooping. He did not send a rescind photo, but I have to say, like, as far as photos of me, it's pretty good, and I will send it to all of you when this is over. Just so you can see.
You should make a Christmas
Please
card.
do.
Make a Christmas card out of it.
Could you imagine? Like, I think it would be good, and then I'll just like put a little Santa hat on, and like
what you need to do is make a book, Places Brian's Pooped.
So if we really want to get into it, I did have an app for a long time called Places I Pooped, and I kept track of it really, really religiously when we were on tour. And it was cool because you would open it, and it was basically like, like a map app that you could just drop a pin, and the pin obviously represents the location with where you are creating your evacuation, if you want to say. So the coolest part was after like a couple of years, it was like, you would press the thing instead of drop pin. It says like bombs away. And dude, I was dropping bombs all over the country and internationally and all sorts of stuff. I was just like, I pooped down the eastern seaboard of China. Like, this is amazing. Like, how can it's great.
I'm jealous.
I did not poop in South America, so that I am jealous as well.
Gotcha.
Well, and I think you guys, right before I signed on, I think you guys played a couple shows in Ireland too, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, that was the first European tour.
Yeah, and I think that was between Shad's and when I got in. But I remember that was a big one for me that I was super bummed that I didn't get to go to Ireland with you guys.
I sent some Irish fan a signed Battlecross Waffle House shirt years ago.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's mighty cool of you.
Yeah, I don't remember. Maybe I was thinking maybe it was right before you guys went to Europe the last time.
Or
but
maybe it was just a dream.
No, I for sure sent it.
To a Conan O'Brien.
Bonin O'Brien.
Bonin O'Brien.
Bonin O'Brien.
Oh God.
Oh my
God. Dude, the list keeps going, bro. I got the list. It never ends.
I was bringing up the fact to someone the other day that you keep that like short list of things that are not necessarily spoonerisms, but like urethra rose. And they were like, I couldn't remember, but like Barry Whitesnake was like another one. And I'm like, dude, it's like a huge list of shit that I have to ask you about. So we'll have to get to that at a different point in time.
We will. Make a whole spiel.
Yeah. A spiel. Oh, also, do you guys, I brought this up the other night when we were talking, I was at I think it was the Jersey Shad show, and I was talking to Bittner. Do you guys remember when we were in Europe and we went into like the dressing room in some club in Germany, and they had this whole deli tray for us, and we were fucking stoked because we were like starving, and we just went off on the fucking deli tray. And we eat most of it, and it's like just scraps left. Like there was barely anything. We were all very hungry boys. And then we found out like 10 minutes afterwards that wasn't actually for us, and it was for Testament. And then Gene Hoglan walked in and just kind of looked at it, and like literally like I got to back up to do it. He just kind of was just like, it's like super defeated.
What?
And dude, me and Gumby both saw it, and we were like, don't fucking say anything. Like, it just shut the fuck up. Like, we didn't do it, And meanwhile, I'm sitting there like,
I don't remember that at all. It must have just been the two of you who crushed it, because I don't remember that.
Dude, maybe it was. I don't remember, but I just remember him being so upset and me sitting there like, wiping prosciutto off my mouth. I was like, it's fucking brutal. Like, oops, sorry, dude.
I do remember that one time though that Chuck was like, "No, Battlecross is direct
Yeah.
support." Where that other band was going to be or something. I
Yeah.
don't know. You
That was
guys know the story
crazy.
better than I
So
do, but
so this was cool because we're in Europe and I had done a tour
in the
teching for
past,
Bittner with Flotsam and Jetsam when they were there. And they had a Bion band called Blixum that I knew that was from Belgium. And they were not my favorite band in the world, we'll say that. We love their sound guy, Martin. He's still like the best dude and is actually the guitar player in Destruction now, which is also cool.
Right on.
So, but basically what winds up happening is we play a festival over there. That was actually the one that we played in Hungary prior to all the poop incident happening, and we played with Testament. And we don't realize, and Testament doesn't realize that they're there while we're there, and we don't have a bunch of shows together. So we're like, well, why doesn't your agent call our agent, see if we can get a couple together? So we wind up actually netting a few shows that weren't originally on the books with Testament, which was cool. So we're at this venue in Germany, and Tony, you'll remember this. Maybe that was the same venue that, do you remember we went outside and there was like a kiosk shaped like a strawberry, and I bought like a huge bag of strawberries that I was just walking around with all day. They were like the
nope,
best
don't remember.
strawberries. Oh, dude, me and you were just
I believe you.
me and you were
I
just
believe
going
you.
off on these things. It was like the freshest strawberries I've ever had. So either way, so we get in the venue and we assume that we're opening because we're the add-on band and they're the tour package. So it would be Battlecross, Blixum, and Testament. And that was the thing. Blixum had bought onto the Testament tour, the band I had previously been with. So Chuck winds up walking out and was like, why is Battlecross's drum set like up front? And they're like, oh, because they're playing first. And he just immediately was like, no, they're not. Battlecross is opening for us. Like, you guys are playing first, and just totally like shut them the fuck down. And I'm sitting there
Dude, it
just
was
like,
epic.
dude,
Epic.
and I'm just
Yeah.
like, I fucking hated touring with this band because they were difficult to deal with on the road. You know, not that they were bad people, but it was just they were tough to deal with for a number of reasons. And so I'm just sitting there like, this is fucking great. And I'm like, I get the text Bittner and be like, you're never gonna guess what Chuck Bielen's like, and
That's
he
awesome.
was so fucking stoked. But then if you remember, and I don't know if you'll remember because this is like more a me thing, the sound guy that night was like the quintessential like spaghetti bullshit, ran lines he didn't know where they were going, and it was just such a mess on the stage that I remember I was so mad that was happening because I was not getting crucial things to my ears or my wedge that I needed. He couldn't figure it out. And eventually I got to the point, and this usually doesn't happen, but I was like, I don't even care if I hear the show. Let's play. And I was so mad that I actually had a really good show because I was so pissed.
Let the hate flow.
Yeah. So, but
That's
no, that
album
was
number 4.
Yeah.
Let the hate flow.
Yeah. It's going to be all
There you go.
Dave Matthews
All right.
songs.
Oh,
Yeah, all covers.
Yeah. Maeve Matthews.
Don't pour over me. Don't pour over me. Sorry, Dave Matthews quote.
yeah. Just don't dump your shit in the Chicago River.
There was some headline I saw the other day that was like, the Hard Times or something that said that Guar is still furious that that Dave Matthews Band covered more people in Chicago and shit than they ever did.
Damn.
Dude, I miss Guar. I miss touring with those guys. But is
Yeah,
Brent
that's
not
great.
in there anymore?
No, I think he just left.
No, he left.
So this is weird because I ran into him and Maddie when they were on the tour with us or on the boat with us or whatever.
He was in the band then, yeah.
Yeah, but it was weird because I
too.
ran into him and it was fine. And then me and Bittner were in some airport lounge, Miami or New York, I don't remember. And Brad was there and he was like, yeah, we just found out that like the guitar player's leaving, so we had to cancel a bunch of shows. And I'm like,
oh shit.
I talked to him yesterday and he said he was doing a bunch of shows with you guys, so guess not, like WTF. So, but then it looked like he was still there and he didn't leave. He was still posting stuff. So I just didn't know if he was there or not.
Yeah,
he's gone.
I think they just announced it a couple months ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, feck.
What are you gonna do? I feel like that's like the Grateful Dead piano player position. It's like it's always someone else, right? Like it's a little bit of a cursed position in that band.
I don't know
Like they've
enough
had, I
about
feel like,
Grateful Dead.
I mean,
to-
Brent's been in there for a good while.
but it was someone else before him, and then it was someone else
Sure.
before him,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like I think it's
yeah.
just been there's been a lot of clientele
For
in
sure.
that
Brian, can you
guitar
do me a
position.
favor?
What's up?
Brian, can you do me a favor?
I can try.
Don't
What's
ever
up?
refer to Grateful Dead ever again.
All right. What if yeah, I think you would like this because I wore it as my like tech shirt for the last shows or whatever. It's the Slayer star, you know what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
But it's got this picture of John Mayer making some like terrible guitar face in it, and it just says Mayer in the Slayer font. And I wear it to all the metal shows because everyone's just like, oh, that's either the dumbest shirt I've ever seen or that shirt rules. I felt very validated that Brian Fair was like, oh, you got one of the Mayor Slayer shirts. And I'm like, he's also a huge Deadhead. So I'm like, yeah, dog. Like, you damn right I did. So
I thought I told you not to refer to them again.
sorry. It's not really the Grateful Dead with John Mayer, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. It's Dead and Co.
That
Cock.
isn't it dead? It's just
I don't like
dead
that
now.
loophole.
So I guess I didn't realize this if we're actually going to talk about it. So I guess Dead and
No.
Co.
No.
I guess John Mayer bought a lot of the rights to the band, so he owned the majority of Dead and Co., which is why it's ending because he doesn't want to do it anymore. And I'm like, could you imagine being poor Bob Weir? Been in the band since I was 16. I don't even own some of that shit now. Like, oh my god, like what a nightmare.
Yeah.
What if we
pretty
did
rough.
all Dead covers, but they were like really intense? Like we did Dead covers interpreted by like Gigi Allen.
Mm.
Stupid.
Yeah, that would be.
Tom, you got a spicy question?
Yeah.
Oh. No, because it'll get you in trouble, Tony.
Go ahead.
No. Hold on. I gotta think. Fuck, I'm usually asleep by now.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, I can't believe this has been like we're entering hour 4. It's pretty great.
I know. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Tony, have you written anything like on your own for the band?
Yeah.
Time of your life. Good riddance. Green Day.
Brian, stop. Stop telling everybody about
This is a long-standing joke.
my
at the
ghostwriting.
Yeah, so well, I'll let you answer the question and then I'll tell them all about your previous gig you had.
Tell them all. Tell them all.
So yeah,
Hiran knows that reference.
So how much have you written, Tony?
Well, let's see. In 2017, 2018, I had 8 songs that were incomplete. I'd say about 4 of them were complete songs that if I just put them out right now, or at the time, they would have been shitty, but they would have been songs. And I shared them with the band, and we had some back and forths and some critiques, and Brian did some drums to them and stuff like that, but it wasn't anything that was really catching on. So, but yeah, I wrote quite a few shit things and nothing fucking worth keeping. So, but since then, I've written my own like fucking solo stuff just for me, just for fun. So
Okay.
that I could share with you sometime if you want to hear it.
I do.
It's
I
like
always
mostly
do.
nursery rhymes.
Oh,
It's like
fantastic.
la 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 la.
Look, you're scaring my
And then there's
cat,
lots of
dude. Chill
ukulele.
out.
There's a whole lot. I do like ukulele. It's like harmonized though. It's like gling, 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 la 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 la.
And then he's recording himself saying Brian, but it's backwards.
yeah, it's really
Oh,
Brian.
oh, fuck. You guys crack me
But
up.
yeah, so to answer your question, yeah, I mean, I write here and there. Sometimes I'll be like on a writing like binge, and then I'll have writer's block, and so it's just I have a bunch of shit that's recorded, but mostly just like pieces of songs and stuff like that. So, but as far as like metal, that's like worthy of being on a Battlecross album, I really want to just start fresh and clean when I feel the inspiration. So,
All right. So fresh and so
Yep.
clean. I gotcha.
that's right.
All right, Brian, what were you gonna say?
I don't remember. It's so late. I really don't remember. What were we talking about before, Tone? You made a point about something that I was going to build a point off of. I just don't remember what it was.
Be right back.
I think it has something to do with fuck, I can't remember.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right.
it's all
It's
right.
getting late anyways.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I'll say this, if this is we're winding down, I think a lot of the stuff we talked about tonight, it really shows you the spectrum of things that you can do as a musician and why some of it's very, very cool. And there's a lot of benefits to it, fringe benefits, experiences, collaborative stuff that feels very rewarding to do with people you care a great deal about, and stuff like that. But I think some of it, every road kind of has its toll, and there is definitely sacrifice involved. And, Tony, before you got on, I was talking about an experience I had with you where, it was the end of the Guar run, and, you were kind of tunnel visioning home to see Geo because it was right after that happened and all that type of stuff, and that it takes a commitment from all of us to make everything as good as we want it to be. And that we all feel very much like there's still gas in the tank. But we just gotta, book the vacation and then start driving, so to speak, when the time's right.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
When you said you had a story between you and I thought it was when Gumby was sleeping on a bunch of garbage, and he got mad at me for throwing it out, and I was like, what a psycho.
What a psycho. So that was great because, Tom, this was literally like a Guar run, and I had been in the band maybe like 10 days, at this point. It was very early on, first 2 weeks. And, everyone kind of gets their own spot in the van. Don was always on the back bench because of his back. But wasn't in the passenger seat. I was usually laying down, but Gumby was always in the way back. And he would build this like just nest of items and blankets and
legit nest.
Yeah, like it was and he would just sleep on it. So us being normal people, and Tony in this case being a normal person trying to keep the van sort of as cleanly as possible, was like, oh, well, we stopped at a stop. I'm gonna throw some of these empty 10s and 20s of soda bottles away, you know what I mean? So he just has like a full-on garbage bag of these things. Gumby had an absolute meltdown, dude. Just like, why would you throw those out there for my back? I sleep on them, blah, 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 blah. Like just like losing his mind about like just empty Coca-Cola bottles or whatever. And Tony just, I remember looking at me because I'm just observing this, like, what the fuck, like from afar. And Tony just kind of looks at me and like locks eyes, and it's just like, what a fucking psycho. And I just remember, like, I thought it was the funniest thing ever at the time. And just the expression on your face and just the deadpanness with that you said it, dude. It was just one of my favorite moments. No, what was the story I was going to tell between us? It was a me and Tony story, and it was a really good one. I just can't remember what it was. It was a lot of
I interrupted you. Like
no,
an asshole.
It's fine. No, I think he asked you a question, and I was the one that was interrupting you, so it was probably okay.
That is how it happened.
It don't matter.
I miss you, Brian.
I miss you too, Tone. But
get over here. Get over here now.
Get together for Memorial Day. That would be
Tony.
Very nice.
I told him we'd help him find a house in fucking Michigan. He could just move right there.
I could, or buy an apartment.
Are you gonna do that?
I don't know.
You should.
I'm trying to get through this wedding in next October, and then I'll see if I have any money left.
Is it 2025?
2025 October. I just like, dude,
you don't need money. You don't need money. Just kidding.
I was just like, I'm very torn of whether or not I want a band at the wedding, dude. I really don't know. Like, that's the hardest thing. Like, I play in a wedding band that I'm going to have as guests at the wedding. They're like, well, we'll just play it. And I'm like, I don't want another drummer fucking up my parts at my wedding. That's going to drive me nuts all night.
Just get a DJ, dude. Just make it easy. Get a DJ.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
DJ.
And we even said it too, like the thing is, it's almost just like there's so many songs that I want them to play that I'm not going to force a band to learn. You know what I mean? Like, it's just easier to be like, hey, DJ, here's 20 fucking songs. Just make sure you play them at some point, you know? Yeah.
It's cheaper. It's easier.
I just
Yeah.
didn't, I guess when you propose, like, I didn't realize that then you had to plan the whole wedding. And I've realized that everything with the wedding is a problem that you have to solve that is solvable.
You just got to figure it
with
out.
Yeah, and figuring it out is you pay more money to
Yeah.
solve it, and it sucks. I was like, dude, like, I don't know, like houses are nice and expensive. Like, would it be cool to have like a down payment on that?
Well, so here's something to think about,
Okay.
right? Most places have down payment assistance,
Okay.
right? Like in Michigan, you could probably get into a house for less than it would cost you to rent your next place to live.
Yeah, I feel like for us, especially in New York, like we can handle the payments. It's the initial down payment that's tough.
Yeah, and there's down payment. I'm sure there's down payment assistance
Yeah, I'm
there
sure.
too.
They
Right?
have like that first time
Right.
home buyer thing too. What's up, Tone?
Have you heard of Robin's Nest?
Yeah. Yeah, I have.
Take it away, Tom. Take it away.
Yeah. Yeah, probably not the time or place, but
Do it.
no,
Do it.
No.
Show them.
Like just it's
Show
on
'em.
you. I'm like, fuck, we're talking
Show 'em.
music.
Show them. Show them.
Oh fuck. All right. So
I like metal.
we're damn near 4 hours.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be up in about 4.5 hours.
Yeah, I'm not far behind you.
So I'm gonna say I appreciate all of you joining us, even if Tony was 3 hours late to the
Better late than never.
truth.
I'm just
And
saying.
super sorry, you guys.
Now everyone said early
I've been really busy lately. I'm super sorry.
everyone said early on, Tony's gonna show up way fucking late.
Yeah, we did. I'm like, he's gonna show up at like hour 2.5. And you're like, it's no problem.
Normally I don't do this. I don't do that though. Normally for this kind of thing, I'm on top of it. But I'm sorry, you guys.
No,
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
you're good. You're on
Sorry.
you're on vacation with your family, dude. Enjoy that shit. But seriously,
Yeah.
I appreciate all you guys hanging out, talking shit. Just so you guys know, when this thing gets posted, it's gonna come out that you guys are writing a new album. So just
God damn it. Don't you do that. Don't you fucking do that.
I'm
And they're
not
gonna listen
going
to it and be like, Brian just talked about poop for 4 hours. I don't
Yes.
Is that what the
Yeah, why
record's
isn't that
about?
the headline? Why isn't that the headline?
Battlecross drummer loves feces.
Loves PCs.
It's gonna say Battlecross new album ? Exclamation point. That's
VCs.
it.
We're gonna write about VCs.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna listen
Reese's feces.
to conversation about Brian pissing on a building where the guy was a dick.
I want to
to
clarify.
shit on this car door.
We all pissed on the building. It wasn't just me. We
I know,
all
but
made a
it's-
collective decision to
it's-
pee on that.
It's funnier when
gentlemen.
I say just Brian, because you're the one that's shitting on cars too.
I did
I was
solo
just about
shit
to
on
say
the
that.
car.
Brian's the only one I know who shat on a car.
I shat on the car. I shat in the hole.
You shat in the ocean.
I did shit in the ocean. Actually, this is a fun one. If you guys want like
Did
a
you
fun
shit off
story
a cliff?
at the Grand Canyon, yeah.
You shat into the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. So I told this one in New Jersey the other day, Hiran, one of my all-time, and this will be the last one I tell for the night. We're in France and we're in Europe, and Hiran was enjoying himself. We'll say that. So we're eating dinner, and I don't remember exactly where it was, but we were very close to the border of France and somewhere. I don't remember, but we were on the Adriatic Sea. I know that. So being at the Adriatic Sea and partying all day and doing whatever, we're all tuned up pretty good. And Hiran was trying to ask this nice couple who had very nicely laid out like a picnic blanket right on the shore of the beach if they knew where we could get any, it was either like pot or something. I don't totally remember what you were asking, but you're like, oh, and I think you even went like, or something. I don't remember. And they were just like, no, dude, get the fuck out of here. No, like really, like, all right. And so you were very cordial. You're like, okay, thanks, bye. And then he literally proceeded to walk 4 feet next to them, like parallel, and started pissing right into the HVAC right in front of them. Like, dude, we're in public and he's just pissing right into the fucking Adriatic Sea. Literally, like, it was so close that they could still probably feel wind from you walking away. That's how close he got, dude.
And it was just like back spray.
But dude, they were so mad about the like him coming up and asking about the stuff or whatever. And like the guy was cherry on top. And he's like, oh, okay, cool, thanks. And he just starts pissing right into the ocean right there, dude. And I just remember all of us standing there like, this is really happening. Like, we're watching this occur. Yeah, because I remember you had your black tank top on, the red towel, like the whole thing. I very vividly remember that because I just thought it was so fucking hilarious. What was happening? Like, just the comedic timing of it was just too perfect, and then just watching that guy already annoyed with you be that much more annoyed with you while even to the very end,
Oh man.
I really hope that dude got some blowback from that string going
little
into
sea spray.
Urine blowback.
Big ropey pee. Gross. All right.
Oh shit. All right. Guys.
I just sriracha sauce.
Oh fuck.
Dude, the sriracha sauce was, oh my god.
Some blowback.
Do you still have the
sriracha blowback? A new band name.
It's a grind band.
Sriracha blowback.
All right.
I'm writing it down. I'm
All
sorry,
right.
Tom.
No, you're
I know
good. Thanks
All right.
again.
Thank
you guys
you,
go
Tom.
have a great night.
Yes, you too.
I can't wait till you guys are done with the new album.
Same.
We'll be dropping later this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're dropping it next month.
All right.
Next month.
Next month. All right. I love you guys. I'll see you soon.
See you soon.
You too, man.
Later.
Bye.
Later, guys.